this is a nothing. Yes, did they play perfect? No, they still win. Yes.
What are you doing if the Celtics win the championship?
If the Celtics win championship, I might break my sobriety. I might act up.
We did it! You got him.
All the way.
Celtics versus Heat. Celtics in what?
4.
Celtics versus Knicks. Celtics in
4.
Got Celtics in 4? Hell yeah.
Use a vocab word from a couple years ago. It's mind-boggling.
That's it, GOG. Let's go. What do you think for tonight?
You think I'm worried about the Warriors? I ain't worried about the
Let's
Warriors.
go, baby. 18, baby. Load up the boat.
Why would you say that?
Because
I'm not. No,
recently he's putting up games like
above our head for the players.
Literally right now.
But I think when Marcus, especially Marcus, when he got traded, I think that was a wake-up call.
You think right now,
Rob,
it's still New York?
I do.
And when I think of the Celtics dynasty, honestly, one of the first names that comes to my mind is actually Brad Stevens.
What is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show. I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me tonight, Mr. Nick Franco and Mr. Paul Mack. First of all, Paul, welcome back to the program here tonight. I'm sure you're feeling a certain type of way, but I'm also sure Celtics Nation is feeling a type of way as well right now as the Boston Celtics fall to the New York Knicks 121 to 113 on the Madison Square Garden floor. The Boston Celtics now down 3-1 in the 2025 Eastern Conference Semifinal Series against the New York Knicks. And this game from the Boston Celtics was a must-win to keep yourselves, if you're the Celtics, out of a potential elimination scenario in Game 5 going back home after dropping the first 2 games at home, winning Game 3. And then tonight, the Celtics face a must-win scenario where they lead for a good majority of this game, however, collapse down the stretch. And a part of that collapse as well was the collapse of Jason Tatum literally on the floor, down writhing in pain after coming up with a non-contact injury. Many people are speculating right now with Jason Tatum, a torn Achilles. We don't know for certain yet, folks. We don't know for certain. There's still hope that Jason Tatum can be healthy, but Jason Tatum comes up with a non-contact injury at the end of the game, cannot put any weight on his leg. He's carried off the floor, put on a wheelchair, and he's crying in that wheelchair as he's wheeled back to the locker room. And at that point in time, the game was just spiraling down the drain for the Boston Celtics. Tonight, Celtics Nation is shell-shocked. They're absolutely and utterly shell-shocked, not only at the result of this game tonight at Madison Square Garden, but now the status of Jason Tatum, in which is up in the air for potentially the next year. But guys, Paul, Nick, Mr. Franco, of course, it's serious, you know, when you bring out the Nick in front of the Franco. It's serious.
That's when my mother is mad at me.
Exactly. But guys, initial thoughts on this just event, not only game, just this event at Madison Square Garden tonight. Franco, we'll start with you.
Shell-shocked is the word. And this game, there's 2 different stories to this game. Being able to dissect a loss to the New York Knicks after the way this game played out would have been a lot easier if this Jason Tatum injury didn't happen. We'd be able to dissect, point more fingers instead of being more just concerned about what the outcome and aspects of what is for the Celtics future after this type of injury happens to your star player at such a key time within a series and within an NBA playoff. And you could see it tonight. It was very apparent that this Celtics team doesn't have a chance without Jason Tatum being on the floor. During the fourth quarter, was the only player being able to initiate offense. However, that could be chalked up to some bad game planning by Joe Mazzulla and being able to create other looks on this offensive run and be able to get other players acclimated and be able to take a little bit of the burden off of Jason Tatum. You had Kristaps Porzingis walking around there with a dying dog on the court. The fatigue levels that he's been going through have been just killing him on the defensive end, rebounding. The Celtics couldn't keep up with Carl Anthony Towns or Mitchell Robinson throughout this entire game, no matter who you put on that court. Al Horford isn't athletic enough. Kristaps Porzingis doesn't have the energy to play with them, and Luke Kornet just simply doesn't match up with either of those guys. And that was the demise of the Celtics, and it was also the glimmer of hope for the Celtics when they would have those guys on the court, because it would open up so many opportunities for this team to be able to score, what you saw throughout the first and through the third quarter when the Celtics had the lead. Every time the double big lineup was on the court for New York, the Celtics were able to exploit that and being able to find open looks for players like Derek White and Jason Tatum, and you were just looking for one of those other guys to step up like Jaylen Brown, and you just didn't see that tonight. But looking at this injury now, it's kind of hard to look at the series anymore after that injury. It is almost down to see that the Celtics are down from the next advance on. That series is very challenging for me. Obviously, you'd like to see the other guys step up with the man down, next man up. Perfect opportunity for Jaylen Brown to assert himself as a superstar. However, the possibility of that happening when the New York Knicks are playing is unconceivable with the fact that and who knows what that outlook causes on for next off.
Yeah, and Paul Mack, your thoughts on tonight's game from either obviously you're coming from the Knicks perspective on this one, but also just from an outsider's point of view, looking in at the Celtics right now. What are your thoughts on tonight's game and the situation at hand here?
I mean, it's a lot of the same, right? Like, your guys' game management with a lead is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's just this ISO hero ball. You're still shooting a ton of threes. Tatum, I mean, sure, he was on tonight, but like a lot of those shots were like suspect shots. He's hitting turnaround middies covered up. He's pulling three. Like, it could have easily gone the other way, and this could have been completely lopsided. Like, I mean, yeah, he made 7 threes. He shot 16 of them. But, like, I mean, y'all only had 15 assists, and you scored 113 points. Like, that's wild. Like, I mean,
welcome Griffin and David to the program. Oh, nice.
Once I saw us kind of clawing back tonight. Once I saw us kind of clawing back there, like going towards the half, like it was a manageable halftime, score. And then you could just see where the momentum shifts, man. Like Jalen Brunson completely takes over in the third quarter, drops 18 points. And it's just that's the thing, man. Like we have that on our team, and the fact that you have 4 guys score over 20 or more. Like, I mean, our ball distribution, our shot selection, the way guys scored, like we played like we wanted a must-win game for us. And like for you guys to be in that situation and like literally a must-win scenario, if you didn't bomb 12 threes in the first half, like it's a whole different ball game. Like you only made 6 in the second half. And like that's the thing too, is like you were still shooting them with a double-digit lead again, and it ballooned up to like 14, and then you were just still same game plan. And we have Robinson and Towns out there. Anunoby started crashing the boards. Mikal Bridges, everybody was just grabbing rebounds, and it just led to points on the other end. The first half stats were very like lopsided towards you guys. Like you hit 12 threes. I don't even think we had I think we had 2 free throw attempts in the first half. Like it was, you guys had 10 or 12 made free throws. So I mean, just those stats alone, like you guys should have been up by way more than you were, but we were just clawing, man. We were just playing Knicks basketball, trying to keep it as close as we can, and Brunson and Bridges and Towns just did their thing in the second half. Anunoby hit some huge shots, but it's just that's the difference for me, is there was more of an urgency on the team who was up 2-1 than the team who was down in the series. So it sucks that Tatum goes down. Like that obviously is going to be the thing people are going to talk about. But I mean, if you guys could hold a double-digit lead, he didn't have to be diving for loose balls, tearing his Achilles. So, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but he tried to make a play, goes down, but like y'all were losing at that point either way. Like the momentum was completely shifted. I don't think the way things were going, I don't think it would have mattered. I think the outcome is still the same. Maybe a little bit closer, but it's just one of those where just one team wants it more. And I think you're going to see kind of as the league's kind of shifting again, man, like this 3-point barrage offense. Like, I don't think it's going to be sustainable like it was a few years ago. I think teams are starting to like get longer, get better on the perimeter. There's a lot of guys now that are like Bridges included, like taking, middies all day long, crashing boards, double big. It's nice to see double big lineups again, like with, traditional big men. But like, I mean, once the third quarter started and like that little run started, I was like, oh, we're in a good spot. And then fourth quarter hits, we actually have a lead. At that point, like the way you guys seem to play from behind, I knew we were good. I didn't think we would kind of, run away with it the way that we did. Obviously, when Tatum goes down, that changes things. Jaylen Brown had 5 fouls. But, we're here. We're grinding, man. And it's just we had to get one in Madison Square Garden. No home teams won yet this series. Celebrity Row was live. The outside watch parties, everybody was going on. So, the energy was there. All the old Knicks were there. It was great seeing, Stephon Marbury and Latrell Sprewell and John Starks. Like, we had to win this game, and we played like we had to win this game. And even tonight, like, we started off slowly. Y'all jumped on us early again, and we just keep it manageable. And, we have the best closer in the world on our team, and that's what happens.
Well, welcome, first of all, Griffin and David, to the program here. Big occasion with the Celtics losing tonight at Madison Square Garden. And, of course, at the end of the game, maybe the bigger story, Jason Tatum goes out with an injury, wheeled off the court. We don't know what it is yet. That's the good thing. We don't know what it is yet. We can only speculate at this point in time. But Griffin and David, first of all, I mean, we're going through initial thoughts here. Yeah, to me, it's just a shell shock moment for Celtics Nation. But through your guys' minds right now, what's going through it? David, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of hit the nail on the head. It's hard to summarize the first 45 minutes of that game with what happened in that 45th minute with Tatum going down. I didn't really have too many qualms, honestly, about how we were playing offensively. I mean, obviously the game came off the rails for us in that second half, the second part of that third quarter, and obviously that whole fourth quarter. But I really thought early on, especially, we were making the right plays, finding the guys open from three. You thought it was going to be Derek White tonight all along with 12 of our first 19 points, and it was like him and Tatum were just battling to see who was going to play a better carry game from that point on. What really, I think, just killed us was our defense, which I thought was one of our strengths through the Orlando series and through the first 3 games of this series, was really lacking tonight. There's a lot of miscommunications where a guy like OG Anunoby is left open in the corner. Brunson was left open at the top of the key. You can name so many instances where it's just so uncharacteristic from the Celtics to have those breakdowns, the things that you don't see on the stat sheet, but end up screwing us. And then, ironically, the guy that everyone's been slandering the whole series for how many free throws he missed, Mitchell Robinson, was killing us tonight on the offensive boards. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but I did see at 8. And then for the team, last I checked, I think this was even before the fourth quarter, was 12-6 in offensive rebounds in favor of New York. So
Mitchell Robinson, 5 offensive rebounds tonight.
Backbreaking.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree, David.
So yeah, just a tough night overall. Obviously the season's not over. Me and Griffin were just recapping or doing the Celtics Nation Rise recap before this, and I used the phrase that, the fat lady is not singing yet, but she's definitely warming up. So that's obviously not a great feeling to have. But yeah, just another heartbreaking night for a lot of different reasons, and it's just one of these things where we've had plenty of these series with the Celtics in recent years in the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown era, where you wonder, oh, if they just didn't screw around in these games, this series would have looked so different. If they didn't screw around in these games against Miami in the bubble, maybe we're not going down 3-1 trying to fight for our lives, and boom, the series is over in 6. Oh, if we can close out those final 6 minutes of Game 4 in 2022 against the Warriors and we go up 3-1, and then, oh, if we can just win one of the first 3 games against Miami in 23, things are different. So just a lot of that reflecting going on in this series as well. It's, again, the season's not over, but this is just definitely the lowest point I think we felt since May of 23 as Celtics fans.
Do we still have that rock bottom?
Oh man, I think we took it out. I feel like we took it out because we do.
Confident.
No, we have it. We have it. Here we go. We have it. Here we are, folks. This is where we're at right now. Rock bottom. Bring it back out. We might end the show on this tonight. Just rock bottom. Yeah. There's the graphic. This graphic. We haven't shown this graphic since
January.
Since January, maybe early February, but I want to say definitely end of January. I mean, man, but we're right back. I mean, look at that steep decline for rock bottom there. I'm just saying. I mean, the bus goes downhill fast in these occasions. But Griffin, obviously you're joining us here too. What are your initial thoughts on tonight's game? And I termed it not even a game, just this event that happened tonight at Madison Square Garden. What are your thoughts, Griffin?
Massacre.
Well, thank you for the beautiful intro to me and David. I do gotta say thank you for that. I don't have long because my computer is gonna die. David and I were like, hey, let's go share some of our thoughts really quick. But dang, that was a big sigh because I'm lost for words. I think I'm more so hurt, but I'm grateful for what we had last year, and that's why I feel like it's not over. Like I said, it's not over, but does it seem like it's going that way? Yes. Tatum going down, he was in visible pain, and you guys saw how hurt he was. That was not something to take lightly. He was in excruciating pain. That's the word I'm looking for. He was in excruciating pain. So it wasn't a fun one to watch as a Celtics fan. It was one that you were like, oh, Tatum's having a great game. The Celtics looked very good from the get-go, but then we've seen a recent trend, as we've seen in the the first 2 at the Garden, TD Garden, I may say, and the Boston Celtics slipped up once again in that second half. And coming from my takes again, and I think Paul Mack knows it, Franco knows it, Seamus knows it, and David all know it because I said it last time and I say it all the time. The Boston Celtics built up a tendency in the regular season to get off early leads and not keep their foot on the gas pedal and close games out. And that was a similar case tonight. I mean, and I don't think it was a fact of not keeping their foot on the gas pedal tonight. It was just the Knicks outplayed us. And I think it's visible to see that the Knicks want this bad. And you see, and Paul Mack, you said this last show too that you were on, where the Boston Celtics really got banged up in that Magic series. And I think at the end of this series, it might be safe to say that the Celtics really got hurt really got banged up and hurt during that Magic series, and that might be the one that we talk about, So it's tough, and I do want to say I think I deserve it because I've been very good at not being so cocky, and I was very cocky this series, which I wanted to put a little blame on myself, but it sucks, it always hurts, and like David said already, it's not the end just yet, but you could see it's in the near future. Who knows? Who knows? There might be a surprise run from the Boston Celtics. And tomorrow, I know it seems very bad and negative from Tatum, but tomorrow we might get some good news that, we're kind of hoping for. As Celtics fans, I think you could pull up that graphic again, Seamus, because it really is rock bottom right now, as you said. But it hurts. It hurts. But, we just got to keep going. I mean, one more game left and potentially more. I mean, we got to look at the positive sides. We got to look at the positive sides. And I got a little bling to show you guys to brighten up the mood a little bit.
Is this a different chain? Andrew had a chain on last game. The chain doesn't hit as hard, I will say tonight, Griffin.
No, it's a Sea Dogs chain.
He's just doing advertising. Get out of here.
I mean, Sea Dogs. I mean, I guess we're gonna have to be covering the Sea Dogs and rooting for the Sea Dogs from now on, because I don't know how many games, I don't know how many Celtics games we have left here. But
well, do you like the background too? I could say we have a Griffin special of my jerseys. Yeah, I'm back home.
It kind of looks like, I mean, it's kind of a resemblant of the Franco background a little bit. With Franco has some. He has some Franco specials back there.
Are those your jerseys?
They are.
I got the Griffin specials right here too. Freshly
football and basketball. But
I think the difference you have to look at is the last time a Boston Celtics player left in a wheelchair. Paul Pierce just had to take a shit and come back in the game.
I don't think. Yeah, who knows?
This is a different situation.
Well, no, it's a completely different situation. And tonight, this is just one of those occasions where it happens in NBA history. You have the peaks and the valleys of liking an NBA team, of following an NBA team, of covering an NBA team. And this was certainly a valley for the Celtics tonight. The peak was last year winning the championship, but we see, I mean, last year, you take it for granted just a little bit. When you're in that moment afterwards, we win the title, and of course the Celtics and the Celtics nation, it's almost like they were given a certain, obviously they won the NBA title, but outside of that, there becomes this certain sense that we deserve it, right? It's like, oh, we won the title. We're the best team until you beat us. You're not winning the title unless you beat the Boston Celtics. And obviously last year, the Celtics were able to go and win the title, and that was a great peak. But now we see just a tremendous valley within the Celtics franchise, organization, fan base, however you want to term it, because the biggest story of tonight, it's not the Celtics going down 3-1 to the New York Knicks. It's the possibility that Jason Tatum could, in fact, miss all of next season with an Achilles tear. That, when Jason Tatum went down on the floor, I'm sorry, that's just the universal sign of an Achilles tear. You step back, he takes that wide step back, and all of a sudden he crumples up on the ground in excruciating pain, grabbing at his ankle, his foot area, and then, of course, he can't put any weight on it. After he's carried off the floor, and then they put him in a wheelchair, and he's just crying there. And this is after a big Jason Tatum performance tonight as well. And we'll get more into that performance later on in time, and we'll dissect it completely. But tonight, 42 points for Jason Tatum. He was carrying the Celtics in some sense tonight, for better or for worse at certain moments of the game. And this is a game where Jason Tatum, you could tell he was taking on a lot of load, because defensively, the Celtics, you already mentioned it, David, defensively, the Celtics were absolutely atrocious tonight. And what's so frustrating about the Celtics being absolutely horrendous on defense tonight is they started out the game tremendously on that end of the floor. That 13-4 run to begin the game, they were up 16-6, and at that point I felt like, oh, we're going to shut them down tonight. We're going to hold the New York Knicks to 90. If we get over the 100-point mark, we should be good in this game because our defense is on point. However, once the Knicks just started their first run, it just felt like a downhill collapse after that. And yes, the Celtics built up their leads at different moments in the game. However, the Knicks, it just felt like every single time the Celtics extended the lead to beyond 10 points, right? We were trying to get beyond that 10-point threshold and really put more points on the lead in that way. And tonight, the Knicks, they responded to every single run. And this is what I said earlier in the series after game 2. And even after game 1, I was saying, look, to drop games 1 and 2, that is just a mathematical error if you're the Celtics, because both of those games are outlier games if you're the Celtics, but those outlier games can ultimately be the games that sink you in the NBA playoffs. If you're losing two games in which you should absolutely win against the New York Knicks, well, guess what? The New York Knicks are going to have a better punch later on down the road. And if your margin for error is this slim as the Celtics obviously coming into tonight, it was. This is where you see the New York Knicks. What happened tonight? Towns, he scores over 20 points. Anunoby, he scores over 20 points. Jalen Brunson, he has himself just a phenomenal second half and just a phenomenal game overall. And he comes away with over 30 points. And you look at, too, Mikal Bridges, he came away with the big fourth quarter. He's over 20 points. So this was bound to happen in this series where the New York Knicks, we see a lot of success from the others on the Knicks roster. Brunson, he goes for 39 tonight. He missed a free throw at the end for 40, but he goes for 39 points tonight. Mikal Bridges 23, Towns 23, Anunoby 20. This is the exact game in which was going to happen in this series. We were talking about that at the beginning of the series. Okay, if the Celtics, they close out in 6 or 5, this is the model of game in which the Knicks can win. Is where the Celtics, they can't quite extend their leads. The crowd is getting into the game. We can't suppress the run as much as we had the last game. In this game 4, the Celtics didn't suppress the run, any of the runs, as well as they did in game 3. And you just see the role players going off. Bridges and Anunoby specifically coming up with 43 points combined from themselves. But then you have Cat and Brunson. They go off offensively as well, particularly Brunson in that third quarter where he comes up with 18 points. And this was the type of game the New York Knicks can win, is where all of their guys are on at the same moment, where they're shooting. I mean, the Knicks shot 54% tonight. The Knicks shot from the field tonight. The Knicks shot 50 of 92. And what was also a big factor in the Celtics losing this game too, 79 attempts from the floor from the Celtics, 92 for the Knicks. So the Knicks take 13 more attempts from the floor than the Celtics, and they shoot at a 6% higher clip tonight. And this was just the margin of error that you couldn't create for yourself if you were the Celtics after games 1 and 2. After games 1 and 2, those are two games the Celtics should have pulled out. And this game 4 was the punch in which we were awaiting from the New York Knicks, the good shooting night from all of the role players, and the bad defensive night too from the Celtics. I mean, the defense tonight, it felt like at a certain moment down the stretch, the Celtics just absolutely could not get a stop, just could not get a stop whatsoever in this game. But there's a lot more to talk about this game. But I do want to say Jason Tatum's injury, that's the biggest story here. After the Celtics, I mean, this series, it seems like the series is over. It seems like the Celtics season is over. At this point in time, we're just waiting for some good news. Hopefully it is halftime of the Warriors Timberwolves game right now. We are waiting. We're trying to just wait and see what happens with Jason Tatum at this point in time, because it looked terrible, and that's something that could ultimately affect not only, I mean, we're not even looking at the rest of this series and the rest of this season. We're looking at next season. We're looking at the Celtics' ability to contend in 2026. But as we see here, do we have any news on Jason Tatum yet here, folks? No. Do we have any? Okay, we don't have any news here on Jason Tatum. So we're gonna go. Okay, we do have a Jason Tatum update. Go here. We have. What? Let's hear it, huh? All right, so I don't think we're getting anything new here.
No.
I don't think we're getting anything new.
I think they're just running through it.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting anything new. If we get any new updates, we will bring it to the panel here. But for now, let us go to the lead tracker here as we see tonight. Look at this. I mean, this is exactly what you see.
I was trying to chime in real quick.
Go ahead, Griffin.
I just want to say before I head out too, I want to say it's all good. I'll save it for the podcast. Make sure you guys tune in. But dang, sea of green, and it dropped off. It dropped off.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Let's see here. So Griffin and David here leaving the show on us. And we're just going to look at the lead tracker here for a second because we were waiting on a Jason Tatum update here at half, but it does not look like we're going to get it. It doesn't look like we're going to get a different update from what we've already heard when it comes to Jason Tatum. But just looking at this lead tracker here tonight, we see here the Celtics. I was talking about it earlier as we just transition here behind the scenes. Okay, so the Celtics we saw here tonight. This lead tracker this is how the game felt for the Boston Celtics here because that sea of green at the end, or sorry, that sea of blue rather. The sea of green happened at a certain point in this game, but you just saw the constant bites. I mean, look at the bites and look at the Knicks coming back in this game constantly. You surmount that 10-point lead early if you're the Celtics, then all of a sudden the Knicks they actually hold a lead almost at the end of that first quarter. The Celtics, you see that uptick at the end of the first quarter. Even the end of that first quarter right there. I mean, it was Tatum, it was Pritchard. They were hitting insane shots, but you didn't necessarily think that they were great shots whatsoever. And the Celtics went crazy there at the end of the first quarter, but otherwise, the Knicks hopped right back into the game. And then the second quarter, it's an up and down affair for the Celtics. And of course, they go into halftime up double digits. But then the third quarter, this is where you just felt like the game was about to get away from the Celtics because they just could not put more points up on their lead. The Celtics just could not get more points up on the. It felt like every time the Celtics would put the lead at 13, their biggest lead of the night was 14. Every time they put the lead up near that margin, the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 mark, the Knicks just responded with a 7-0 run. The Knicks just responded with an 8-0 run, a 9-0 run. It just happened time and time again. And this was a game that I felt like, well, here you go. Here's the margin of error that's the Celtics cannot afford right now is not only do the Celtics near the end of this game, I'm sitting there watching the game thinking, okay, you're not holding a lead anymore. If you're the Celtics, it's not about coming back from a lead anymore. Or sorry, it's not about holding a lead anymore. It's about coming back from a lead now. It's not about, okay, just fend off the Knicks and let's win this game. It was no. I mean, the Knicks had control going into that fourth quarter. They grabbed the lead right before the fourth quarter, and then Mikal Bridges, he comes out hitting multiple big shots right away, and then you could just see that avalanche. Or that was pretty much the mark of Jason Tatum coming out of the game. You could see it marked right there within that avalanche for the New York Knicks. After that, I mean, it's just the game got out of hand for the Celtics. But just the whole second half, it felt like, if the Celtics can't put more points on their lead here, we're going toe-to-toe with the Knicks down the stretch. And we've known in this series so far, the Knicks have had the upper hand and the upper advantage in terms of playing in crunch time. And obviously, Jalen Brunson, we know how killer he can be in crunch time. And he just took over that third quarter. And I will say, Brunson, I mean, he took over the second half in general in this game. But at the end of the game, it just fell off a cliff for the Celtics, as you see here on the lead tracker, unfortunately. And just this, I'm still in shock by this game, quite frankly. I'm very in shock by what we saw at the end, and it's not only about this game. It's hard to put this game into further words, knowing Jason Tatum and his injury, what's going on there. But ultimately, looking at that lead tracker, what were some of the biggest factors for you guys, just looking at the entirety of this game? What were some of the biggest factors that played into the hands of the New York Knicks near the end, and that ultimately played as a disadvantage for the Boston Celtics? What exactly within the game of play played some of the biggest factors in the Celtics not being able to pull out this win and the Knicks going ahead and just trumping the Celtics down the stretch? We'll start with you, Franco.
The ball dying in Jason Tatum's hand. That is where the ball began and ended for this game, and it died right when he came off the court. When that injury happened, the ball was no longer moving for those final 3 minutes. The energy was still there from the team, but you could see the mental defeat on the team, and you could see once that third quarter started to roll around in the Celtics body language that they were just starting to feel that pressure come from the New York Knicks, and like they were going to get punched in the mouth again, which is something that we should have expected since we've seen it the past 3 games we've faced off with them. The Knicks should have been believe a little bit more of a controlled win. You should have started to slow down the ball, started to spread the ball out more. That was what created the success for the Celtics throughout the first half, was getting the ball to an open Derek White. He started off absolutely flaming from three. I think he started 4 for 4 from the 3-point clip to start off the first quarter. And it was mainly because he was getting the very open, not in contested shots that are right in his comfort zone, and he will make 9 out of 10 times. And seeing this team start to fold away from that and start to try to match the pressure that the New York Knicks were creating, Madison Square Garden, there were a couple times that the volume on my TV popped because of how rambunctious the crowd was getting in there, and the Celtics succumbed to the pressure of it. And seeing players like Kristaps Porzingis out there playing fatigued is not something that is going to win you a series against the New York Knicks. And you just see this team looking defeated before they even get off the court, when the Knicks are starting to come back in that second wind. And everyone rips on Tom Thibodeau for is the load management. Why does he play his players 48 minutes a game during the regular season? Why does he over exert his star players? Why does he only use his starting lineup? Because of moments like this. And over time, you can see that this team is now accustomed to that, and the Celtics were just playing into the New York Knicks game. Obviously, the rebounding and open levels of looks that the Knicks were getting down low was unstoppable. The Knicks were taking advantage of Derek White, who is usually a very solid defender for the Celtics, but he was getting absolutely blown by Mikal Bridges, was using his length and athleticism against Derek White to get open look for mid-range looks. And then Jalen Brunson also has amazing finishing ability down low, and also being able to get second chance looks from Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson throughout the game. Really just kept the Knicks within this game and in striking distance until the Celtics dwindled away in that fourth quarter. And looking at this game from prior to the injury, it was looking exactly like it did for games 1 and 2, and can decide for verdicts. And I'm not going to be one of those people who blame an injury on being the reason the Celtics season falls apart. And
yeah, let's be clear here, folks.
Yeah.
The Tatum injury had no impact on how this game was going.
Right.
During that lead tracker, that green going down, Tatum is very much in the game. And even during that slight Knicks, like you see the avalanche of the Knicks, Tatum was there for a slight portion of it, and then it just, I mean, the cap of the bottle was just let open after Tatum's gone. But before that we can talk way more on that in terms of Tatum's role in this game later, because phenomenal, efficient night for Tatum and 42 points. And he was actually one of the best defensive players in this game, period. But at the same time, some odd decisions on the offensive end of the floor tonight, some odd decisions despite the stat line. And obviously the injury at the end. But just to make that clear, of course, Franco, we are here on the Celtics Talk Weekly program. We all understand this is not Jason Tatum was injured, therefore we lost this series. This is not a Miami Game 7, goes down with the ankle injury, can't play the whole game. No, I mean, he played the whole game. He came up with 42 points in this game, and
he was the only one
at the end it just wasn't like that was the salt in the wound at the end, is that this game was already heading towards a loss for the Celtics, and then all of a sudden, I mean, the series just kind of goes out, like from everybody's vision in Celtics Nation. We're all focusing in on the series and our ability to come back in the series. Once Tatum goes down, it's like, oh, the series doesn't even matter anymore. Like we're losing the series. We understand that. If Tatum isn't healthy next season, it's like, what even happens to this franchise? That's that's where the minds of everybody went there. But sorry, go ahead, Franco. I just had to get on that point real quick.
And this is also just like so. This is like so bittersweet, but I feel like every person outside of Celtics Nation is kind of being like, well, oh, how the turntables have turned. Because you look at last year's run, one thing that the Celtics were always busted up for is playing against injured opponents. And we have to be very aware how lucky we were to have such a healthy season like the Celtics did. Obviously, the two players that faced the injuries throughout the season the most were Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford with their rotations alongside Drew Holiday for a short stint of time. But that was to be expected out of those players because they're all aging, and we also know Kristaps Porzingis' injury history. And also looking at him now, it's hard to say that we're going to see better days out of Kristaps Porzingis. Hopefully, he makes a full recovery from whatever illness he's facing. But
yeah, I don't
whatever it is, it has just completely made him a shell of himself on the court, and it's like watching an old dog within its last 6 months of its life, panting every time it walks up the stairs, trying to guard Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson just isn't going to work out. So the Celtics were lucky to maintain their health, and also you have to credit that to injury management, training, how good this team does of preparing their players for long durations of seasons and keeping them at full health. But now it kind of takes a weird jump to a position where I was going to be coming into this post-game show ready to decipher and be ready. How can the Celtics come back from a 3-1 deficit? And now if the Celtics can extend the series and just not allow the New York Knicks to win the series at TD Garden next game with some great performance by the supporting cast of Jason Tatum, that is as much as Boston Celtics can wish for at this point.
Yeah, and just looking at the conversation here we started on, and what went wrong in this game. What went wrong in this game was well before the Jason Tatum injury in this scenario. I mean, just I felt like in that third quarter, in the second half, it's just, I mean, things were just going awry. I mean, things were clearly just going off the rails in that third quarter, going down to that to the fourth quarter, and it's almost like it's kind of these games sometimes feel like a little sample size of the team overall, because just looking at this entire Celtics playoff run, I know people were praising the Orlando Magic and saying, oh well, the Magic, they're putting bodies on Tatum and Brown and they're making it very physical for the Celtics and yada yada, and this is good for the C's. But let's face it, the Celtics didn't play well basically all series until the third quarter when Paolo Banchero had to sit with 5 fouls. That's the reason the Celtics were able to pull out Game 5. It was 53-53 up to that point. And then all of a sudden, Paolo Banchero goes out of the lineup and the Magic have nothing for a quarter, for 9:46 of the last third quarter. And that's when the Celtics play well. Outside of that, the Celtics haven't played well at all in these playoffs. And it feels like, oh, this is the time of the year where you want to see a team peaking. And the Celtics, they just don't seem like they're peaking right now. They obviously not down 3-1 to the New York Knicks, but and just in this playoff run period, and then in this game, it felt like the same thing. It felt like, oh, we peaked a little early in this game when Derek White was hitting all of his shots. I mean, when he started 4-4 from the floor, I'm going, all right, Derek White, he does this. He'll start 4-4. He'll start 1 of 7, and then the other half will be either the bad or the good half. Like, pick your half with Derek White tonight. It was the first half he was very good, and then the second half it was just, I mean, he wasn't as impactful in that second half. I mean, in the second half he was 2 of 7, 2 of 6 from 3 versus the first half. Derek White, I mean, he came out like a flamethrower. He's 4 or 5 from 3, 4 or 5 from the field in general. But our general conversation is where this game kind of turned on its head. And Franco, you mentioned it just with the offensive shot selection of the Celtics tonight. And I gotta say, I saved some of this for our Tatum conversation here coming up in a minute. However, the ball I felt died on the court tonight at multiple moments. I felt like there weren't enough passes made on the offensive end of the floor. I didn't feel like the right intent was there on the offensive end of the floor. And again, I want to save some of this for the Tatum conversation tonight, but I mean, just the offense was horrendous from the Celtics' point of view at different moments, especially late in that third quarter, early fourth quarter. It was like, man, we only need a bucket right now. We don't need a hero ball three from midcourt. That's not what we need. We need a bucket. And just some of the shot selection, it was just unbelievable after what we've already talked about from games 1 and 2. It's unbelievable. Some of the shots that we saw in this game after what we saw in games 1 and 2. And I understand game 3 came out, shot 43s and hit 20 of them, 50% from 3. But a lot of those attempts were good looks coming off of good reads within the offense. And unfortunately tonight, I didn't feel like our threes came off. Our 3-point attempts we took in the game. The Celtics took 24 attempts in the first half. For the entire game, they took 48 threes. They hit 18 of them. They shot 37.5%. But I just felt like a lot of those threes were, they did not come within the flow of the offense. I felt like some of the Derek White threes came within the flow of the offense, but you look at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, 16 Tatum threes. I'm sorry, Jason Tatum, he's not catching and shooting 3-point attempts. So those 16 threes are coming off the dribble. 8 3-point attempts for Jaylen Brown. Again, those are coming off the dribble. So for the Celtics tonight, if you just add those numbers up together, that's 24 of your 48 shots, 24 of your 48 3-point attempts coming off the dribble from Brown or Tatum. That's just likely what it is from that standpoint. If we look at the film, just from those two, and then you have Pritchard 7 attempts from 3. Those are a lot of those are coming off. So you're just looking at the 3-point attempts tonight. A lot of them are coming off the dribble, and they just were not coming within the flow of the offense. And you can see that by the shot attempts of others on the roster too, like Al Horford and Drew Holiday. Well, Al Horford, he only takes 2 shots period tonight, and Drew Holiday, he takes 2 3-point attempts, and Al Horford, both of his attempts from the floor tonight were 3-point attempts. But you have 4 combined 3-point attempts from Horford and Drew Holiday, who are in the starting lineup tonight. And then Holiday, he only shoots 5 times in general. So you have 7 shot attempts from Horford and Holiday. So you just look at the distribution of 3-point attempts too, and 2 for Porzingis. So between Porzingis, Holiday, and Horford, that's 6 3-point attempts. 6. And so the rest falls on Brown, Tatum, White, and Pritchard. I mean, that shows some of the distribution and shows some of the involvement or lack of involvement within the offense, or the lack of flow within the offense in general. But the defense for me too, I mean, it felt like at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the Celtics just could not get a stop. It felt like Jason Tatum would come down the floor. I mean, some of the he shot 1 of 6 from 3 in that third quarter. In the fourth quarter, Jason Tatum was 2 of 3 from 3, and he was 4 of 6 in the 7 minutes he was out there. So he started to heat up a little bit more in the fourth quarter than he did in the third. However, it just felt like every time Tatum came up with a bucket, or the Celtics came up with a bucket in that fourth quarter, on the other end, it was met with another bucket by somebody like a Mikal Bridges or a Jalen Brunson. Mikal Bridges, he shot 5 of 6 in that fourth quarter, and all of those were inside the arc, all of them mid-range shots in that fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson, 3 of 6 in that fourth quarter. OG Anunoby, 4 of 4 in that fourth quarter. So I mean, you just saw the Knicks and some of their role players as well. I mean, Towns, I mean, I know he's not a role player, but hey, 2 of 3 from the floor in that fourth quarter. That just shows it right there. 15 of 22 in the fourth quarter for the Knicks. 15 of 22. 68.2% from the floor from the Knicks in that fourth quarter. That symbolizes certainly a big part of this game for the Celtics in terms of not being able to get a stop there late in the game. So the offense wasn't working to a T as we saw in game 3, and the defense, it started out fine in the first quarter. I should say it started out fine for the first probably 4 minutes of the first quarter, and then for the rest of the game, it was just absolutely non-existent from the Celtics side of things. But we're talking a little bit about the Knicks here, just their ability to make shots. But Paul Mack, from your perspective, what did the Knicks do to turn this game around in their favor? Because obviously we looked at that lead tracker and we were saying, okay, yeah, the Celtics, they had the lead, but every time it felt like they were adding on to their lead, the Knicks always had a run to respond to that lead. And we see the Knicks were down for a big portion of this game until that fourth quarter. But from your mind, Paul, what did the Knicks do in order to turn this game on its head towards themselves?
It was just a tale of two halves. Like, I know, last time I was on, we were talking about, like, everyone's saying it's a matter of time before the Celtics start to make their threes. That's the whole thing. But, like, no one takes into account that the Knicks have started off slow every single game of the series. They get down early. They can't score for the first, 3 to 4 minutes of the game. Just you guys get out to an early lead. And it's just the way that this team holds court, man. They just grind it out all they have to. But it's just the idea of, like, the simple basketball that we grew up on as kids. Like, at some point, the Knicks just took the shots that Boston was giving them. Like, they abused the matchup they had. There was a point where, they would rotate and Derek White would be on Karl-Anthony Towns down low, and he would just take advantage. Mikal Bridges is just shooting over the top of smaller guys. Jalen Brunson's getting the big. He's just doing his footwork and getting into the lane, getting exactly whatever shot he wants. And it's just that it's the fact that we shot 67% in the second half. Never mind just the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And we only shot 12 threes in the second half. You guys shot 24. We made 5. We shot 42% from 3. So we were literally just taking what you guys were giving us, and we were making shots. And that's the difference in a basketball game. It's a make or miss league. And, you guys started missing. And when you guys start pressing, it just turns into a Jason Tatum ISO hero ball situation. And he's just literally dribbling the ball with the entire shot clock and then just taking some shot. Like, kudos to him for making shots tonight. Like, he was hitting shots. Like, scorers.
It's the most confusing performance in the world because it didn't feel like he played particularly well on that end. But you look at all the numbers and go, well, this
is one of those games
an efficient game.
The stat sheet isn't gonna show you what those weren't quality shots. Like, he worked for every one of those shots. Like, he literally half those shots were contested in the lane, fade away, turnaround 2-pointers. He was pulling up threes. Like, I mean, he had a few open ones and he had a couple drives to the basket, but he earned every single bit of those 40 points. And that's the difference is you look at the Knicks stat sheet and it's just they just took what you gave us, man. Karl-Anthony Towns, 6 of 7 in the second half, only attempted 1 3. And he's a guy who, when he was in Minnesota, he loved the 3. He loved shooting threes. He was just taking what you guys gave him, man. And Mikal Bridges, he wasn't making threes in the first half, so he just stopped shooting them. And he just got in the lane, used his length. He was pulling a Kawhi. He looked like vintage Kawhi Leonard, just getting in the lane, pulling up over the top of smaller guys. OG started kind of cutting to the basket, making some plays. He had a couple big threes. And then just, Jalen Brunson is Jalen Brunson, man. Like, he just timely basket. When you need a basket, he got you a bucket. And if he didn't score it, he got someone else in a position to score. And there was a point where Towns threw a lob to Mitchell Robinson. Like, it was just whatever was there, we pretty much can get whatever shot we wanted. And we didn't have to force a single shot in the second half. And that was the difference was we would score, you guys would score, and it was just going back and forth. And then it got to a point where your offense was so stagnant that there was I think the last quality shot you guys hit was there was a time where Tatum came down and hit Derek White in the corner for a 3. And that was about the last quality look you guys had, and the rest were just you guys started pressing, man. And even your 3-point attempts, Peyton Pritchard shot about 3 of those towards the end of the game. He wasn't shooting a lot until Tatum went down. He came in. Obviously, Jaylen Brown with 5 fouls. He didn't play much of the start of the fourth quarter. But it's just and we mentioned it before, just the arrogance of this, the Boston 3 party that everybody quotes it as, you know what I mean? If you make 18 threes, you should win a basketball game. There's no reason why you should lose a basketball if you make 18 threes. It's the fact that you shoot 48 of them that's the problem. You got outshot. The Knicks got more shots. The Knicks had more makes. And that's just what it boils down to, man. It's just the quality of shots. We were rebounding the ball and we were pushing. We weren't looking to set up and try to set up a weird 3-pointer. We were just pushing, putting pressure on you guys, had you guys backpedaling the whole second half. And, it's just nice to see basketball played that way. Like it almost seems it's like two different like generations of basketball when you're watching how the Knicks offense was operating versus the Celtics offense when they were operating. And it's just, to me, like I knew there was a point in the third quarter. I was like, if we can keep it under 10, like we have a chance. And then once we went on that run towards the end and we got the lead and we had a lead going into the fourth quarter, Boston's one of these teams, man, like you get a lead on them and it's just like, what do they got? Like what's their move? Because they don't play from behind often. That's not a thing they've done all year. Like they usually get leads.
Or last year.
Yeah, like you guys get leads and like you'll let teams kind of come back because like you'll the way you guys substitute and stuff like that. You can sit guys, you can rest guys, whatever. But it never gets to a point where you have to worry about it. And then this is the postseason, and it's a game of runs. And when teams get going, especially on their home court, when the crowd's behind them. Like, it's a different ballgame. This isn't the regular season. Like, you guys could beat us 25 straight times in the regular season. It doesn't matter. Like, New York, Madison Square Garden postseason crowd is completely different than any other crowd you're going to face in probably your career. And I think it's just taking those things for granted, man. Like, it's, 48 threes is crazy. Like, you made 18. You only made 6 in the second half. Knicks outshot you from the floor, from the three-point line, out-rebounded you, out-assisted you. Like, you were just literally completely outgunned in the second half, and you just didn't have an answer, period. And, like, that's the part that, like, surprising more than anything is that you guys did not have a solution. There was no solution to the problem. It was just like, well, we'll just shoot our way back in. And that's not how it works in the postseason. And basketball is especially playoff basketball, like it's games versus moments. And like the Knicks just have all the moments in the series. Like there's not a moment where I'm like, oh man, did you see what so-and-so did for Boston? Did you see that play Tatum had? It's just like, no, it doesn't happen. But like we remember the big three by Anunoby. Remember the move by Brunson. We have
the Jason Tatum injury.
That's a tough spot. Yeah, like we remember like the moments of just Mitchell Robinson just asserting his dominance in this game. Like it's all those things, and you're gonna look back at this game and you're gonna be like, Jason Tatum had 42 points, and it's just for what? You know what I mean? Like he was still a -9 for the whole game. Like, and you guys were -19 in the second half. So it was really all for nothing. Like he could have probably had a typical Tatum game if he would have had 25. I mean, he only had his assist numbers were down. He rebounded pretty well. But like a 4-assist game out of Jason Tatum is crazy. Like that guy is.
That's my whole issue with this is even though the stat sheet shows 42 points and everybody loves points and individual performances. I mean, you're highlighting it there with the New York Knicks. It's about team basketball. It's about having the entire collective. I mean, just think when you're talking about the New York Knicks, you're not just talking about Jalen Brunson. It's about all the other guys like OG Anunoby being aggressive. It's Josh Hart playing a tremendous defensively. It's Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass. It's Mikal Bridges hitting shots in the fourth quarter. It's Towns getting dirty on the glass. I mean, it's all the other guys. It's team basketball for the Knicks in the series, and that's what it has to be for the NBA playoffs. I mean, tonight, Jason Tatum, he scores 42 points. But then look at the collective. I mean, Derek White and Jaylen Brown, congrats. I mean, they got over the 20-point mark, and we all know the type of game Derek White had. I mean, he was 6 of 12 from the floor, 6 of 11 from three, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. But then in the second half, he just completely falls off. And then the rest of the collective, it's like Peyton Pritchard had himself a moment, but I didn't think he was. I mean, he was certainly not as involved in this game as he was last game. Porzingis is giving you nearly zilch compared to what he can usually give on a normal productive level when he's apparently not dealing with an upper respiratory illness.
Luke Cornett was doing
Holiday and Horford already highlighted with them. I mean, they only took 7 shots tonight, and they took 4 3-point attempts. So we take 48 threes. Well, only 4 of them are coming. 6 of them really are coming from Horford, Holiday, and Porzingis. And that's a huge part of the collective. I mean, the whole season, the Celtics have been trying to keep those guys healthy to be involved in these moments. And all 3 of them, Horford, Holiday, and Porzingis, I mean, they're not as involved on the offensive end of the floor as you want them to be. Same thing with, I mean, Cornett played 8 minutes, but 0 points. I mean, we can't even get a putback attempt for Cornett, a pick and roll opportunity where he goes in for a dunk. It's all these these little things. I mean, to me, it's better if Jason Tatum has a 25-point night with, say he still has 8 rebounds, but then he has 8 assists, or he has 9 assists, or he has 10 assists, and then we see, Horford or Holiday, they have better looks and attempts, and they have more volume to their game, and Porzingis as well, and just the entire collective of the Celtics. I mean, you can see it's very centered on Jason Tatum tonight, especially in the 3-point category, but just the shot attempts category, 28 shot attempts for Tatum tonight. Coming in second is Jaylen Brown with 16, and then after that you have 12 for Derek White, 10 for Peyton Pritchard, and then after that you go say 5 for Holiday, 2 for Horford, and 6 for Porzingis, 0 for Cornette. I mean, that's just the balance. You could see the balance is definitely turned towards Tatum.
Yeah, abysmal, and every single one of those players on that court on the Celtics team owe Jason Tatum an apology. There is absolutely no reason. I get it. Your star player needs to play as hard as the best player or the worst player on the court, but there's no reason why your best player should be absolutely busting his ass to keep his team afloat when throughout his entire career, he has been always told, oh, he has such a good supporting cast around him. Oh, he's just getting carried by the people around him. He's just Paul George with a good supporting group. And none of that was true tonight. You had none of those guys show up to help him out, and they are probably, like, I'm not going to point the finger, but they are the reason why Jason Tatum is crying in a hospital bed right now in New York, or probably flying back to Boston somehow. But they just not bringing it on the defensive end, lackadaisical plays, just forcing the ball when they got down the court. Oh, what are we going to do? Let's just hand it back to Tatum. He'll figure it out. Missoula, let's just run this whole offense.
No, Missoula, Missoula is the main problem here.
Yes, everyone's getting the finger. It's just absolutely awful to see what that team try to game plan on, and they got the worst result out of it, which is getting your star player injured. And it is 100% on the fault of the Boston Celtics that Jason Tatum is out right now. Even the inbound pass that caused that was just because of lazy playing. They were just feeding the ball off a simple play, and he was getting collided on and getting double pressured because everyone on the court knew where the ball was going. It wasn't going anywhere other than to the number 0's hands at the top of the key. And even then, it was just setting up not even a half-assed pick and roll or anything. It was just pure isolation of him trying to somehow draw a mismatch, get fouled in the paint, or make a ridiculous shot that only him as a top 5% basketball player in the world can make. And you can't rely on that every single time unless he's the only player you can rely on. But you look across the court, there are 4 other players on that court that the Celtics should feel extremely comfortable being able to rely upon. Being able to find Jrue Holiday, Derek White, we saw during the first half. We saw how effective it was. Jrue Holiday, during the fourth quarter, while the Celtics were still battling around trying to make this a game and try to etch out a win before Jason Tatum got injured tonight, Jrue Holiday started driving to the rim, and it opened up so many opportunities for this team. Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford being absolutely non-factors, other than Al Horford being out on the paint, out on the 3-point line, being an extra option on an outlet, is not anything that the Celtics need when you're facing a young physical team like the Knicks. Being out-rebounded, and everyone says, even back to AAU days, you won't find a coach of basketball within this world that says that the only thing that rebounding comes down to is effort. It's all about effort. It's all about positioning, and the Celtics just weren't able to live that up. So the fact that the Celtics dynasty is come to a demise doesn't fall upon anyone except for themselves, and they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. Jaylen Brown, it's just awful to see, like, the amount of potential that they just let slip out of their hands. Who are we? We completely disregarded the New York Knicks throughout this season, even heading into round one. We were talking about it was inhabitable, like it was habitually from us. It wasn't like we were trying to disrespect the Knicks or anything. We were just so caught up in our own heads, and so has this team that, oh, we'll just worry about the Eastern Conference Finals. Oh, all we care about is the NBA Finals. It's just a terrible thing that we were able to do, and we look past our opponents, and the Celtics maintain that kiss the ring mentality up to this point. And want to know what? The statement still rings true, even though the Celtics lost it, is you aren't going to be a champion until you can beat the Boston Celtics. And want to know what? I still feel comfortable saying that. And now I feel comfortable saying that the New York Knicks are nearly bound to win their championship right this season. And as a Bostonian, that tears at my heartstrings. I could throw up. There is throw up in my pizza that I ate during halftime tonight is in the back of my throat right now after saying that.
My goodness.
But looking at this team, the way they were able to outplay the Celtics throughout this series, the physicality that they were able to bring, the way that they were able to put together this roster throughout this team, I'm giving them their flowers that they are looking like the most poised team still left in this playoffs to win an NBA championship. Obviously, we don't know how they're going to fare when we look at the other obvious number one contender if the Celtics are out, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I think they're still a young team, and I think that the Thunder would be, or the Knicks would be able to pull out that series. But looking at what happened tonight, Bill Chisholm has just pretty much walked into a clean plate, walking into the season. And it makes it very hard for me to say that I can see this team being able to piece this iteration of the Boston Celtics together with this much star talent. There will probably be trades this offseason. You'll see one of these two players, either Kristaps or Giroux, moved on from for a few role players. People are trying to say that the Celtics will try to bring in a third star. That's just not within the realm of reality. They are going to try to chop down. No, they're going to chop down on their salary. They're going to get a few rotational players. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully, if they want to even have a chance of competing next year, they need to bring in a big man, especially if Kristaps Porzingis is being shipped out, and also Al Horford and Luke Kornet's contracts is expiring.
Well,
I think like you were saying before, like it was a different like version of Tatum. Like he came out, he was aggressive, but like his aggressiveness like just eliminated your entire offense. Like he literally, there was a 2 to 3 minute stretch where I felt like he was taking every shot. And like didn't even pass the ball. Like he just would dribble the shot clock down to like 10, 12 seconds, and then he'd make his move and either shoot a contested 3-pointer or drive into the lane. And at that point, like your whole offense shifts. Like none of these guys are going to hit a shot. A lot of these guys are rhythm guys. And when you're getting the ball, you're getting a claymore in the corner. Like what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So it's just like your best shot was him just like drowning out the noise and just playing a Tatum game. Like you didn't need this from Tatum in game 4. You didn't need a 42-point loss and then an injury. Like there's so many other ways he could have went about it. And like the way that Derek White was shooting, you know, Jaylen Brown wasn't playing too bad, but like, again, those are two like ISO guys. So it's like, what are you going to do? But it's just like, I was watching this game and just seeing how it was. It was like, oh, Tatum's shooting it. Like he's taking a shot. And like, obviously, you know, shot makers make shots, and he was making shots. But like the difference in the game is Brunson scores 39, dishes out 12. Like that's the big difference right there.
Well, I mean, talk about big differences. I mean, just highlighting some more numbers here for this game, because I do want to get deeper into Tatum here. in a second. But just the rebounding category, 43-31 tonight in favor of the Knicks. And then the offensive rebounding category, 13 offensive rebounds for the New York Knicks tonight, only 7 for the Celtics. And it really shows itself within the second chance points, 15 second chance points for the Knicks tonight, only 9 for the Celtics, and then points in the paint. I mean, really highlights the conversation you were on, Paul Mack, about the Knicks not needing to rely on analytical basketball in order to win this game, just really honing in on the shots in which the Celtics were giving them, just honing in on every opportunity in which they saw in front of their faces. Points in the paint tonight, 64-32 in favor of the Knicks. The Knicks doubled up the Celtics in terms of points in the paint tonight, and it was very evident. It was very evident from the rebounding we saw out there. It was very evident from the aggressive driving and the attacking the Knicks had, and just the level of patience and confidence the Knicks had within their offense down the stretch. Obviously, Brunson is the ringleader of their offense, but just Mikal Bridges, Brunson, and even Anunoby in the late portions of this game, the end of the third quarter going into the fourth. Obviously, that third quarter was just an explosion from the Knicks. They scored 37 points in that third quarter. In the fourth quarter, they scored 33. But in that second half, it's just the Knicks offense. It just felt like they could get whatever they wanted, and whichever shot was available to themselves, they would take and they would make. And that's just sometimes the name of the game, is just how many shots can you make. And tonight, the Knicks, they take 13 more attempts than the Celtics. That's a huge problem for the C's. But when you're hitting also at a 54% clip while the Celtics are at a 48% clip, I mean, that's going to create a big discrepancy within the game. But we've been talking, a main talking point tonight has been Jason Tatum. And tonight, our player spotlight brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, everybody go use the code Celtics Weekly.
Yep, final
at
game,
checkout
game
of your
5.
first purchase. Yes, game 5. This would be a nice
Back in
game
Boston.
5 coming up on the horizon. Be a nice occasion to use that Celtics Weekly code at checkout of your first purchase at SeatGeek.
I bet you the tickets are pretty cheap right now. If I had to guess myself.
Yeah, the whoever bought them ahead of time.
Don't allow New York to take over Boston. That's all I can ask for. I know they like to travel. They like to travel as much as we do. Go use our code. We will give you $20 off to go to TD Garden and save that seat from being filled with blue and orange. That's how generous we are.
$20 off, folks. And look, this is a pride game. Game 5 is a pride game because the man on screen right now, our player spotlight tonight, Jason Tatum, we have no idea whether he's playing in game 5 or not. Looks to be maybe not the greatest chance right now, as we're talking about a much longer scenario with Tatum, and we'll get to that within this player spotlight segment. However, tonight, Jason Tatum, 42 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 6 of 28 from the floor, 7 of 16, not from the free throw line. That says free throws. It's the 3-point line. So that's a typo there we have for Jason Tatum. So we're all letting Jason Tatum down tonight in some way, but that's 3-pointers right there. 7 of 16, not free throws. But Jason Tatum, he has himself quite the night on the MSG floor in a must-win game for the Boston Celtics. And really, we've been talking about this Tatum performance for little segments here and there, but we're really going to dive deep into it. Just starting off here, Jason Tatum, to me tonight, a lot of people are going to look at the stat sheet and go 42 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Monster game from Tatum, shoots over 50% from the floor, 16 of 28. They're going to look at the stat sheet and go, Jason Tatum in the game in which he potentially tore his Achilles and he left it all out on the floor. He gave it his all. But in reality in this game, I think Jason Tatum, yes, gave his full effort on the defensive end of the floor, but offensively, even though you see 43% from 3, 57% from the floor, you look, oh, super efficient performance from Tatum. It just didn't feel like this efficient Tatum performance had a good impact on the Celtics offense or ability to actually win this game late in the game. Because when the Celtics absolutely just needed a bucket, it was Jason Tatum ISO into a sidestep or step back 3. And some of them he made, but some of them, I mean, in the third quarter, he just killed the Celtics 1 of 6 from 3 in that third quarter. And a lot of those were at the end of the third quarter when the Knicks were really establishing themselves in the game, coming back into the game, and even grabbing the lead before that fourth quarter. The Celtics just really needed a bucket. and it just felt like it was Tatum 3 after Tatum 3 after Tatum 3. I mean, he takes 16 3-point attempts tonight, 16 threes to 12 2-point attempts. We don't really want to see that out of Tatum. We want to see we want to see a good volume of threes, but we don't want to see 16 3-point attempts, because those 16 3-point attempts. I mean, we saw it on film tonight, but you just know when you see that number in Tatum's in the ratio of 2s to 3s for Tatum, you just know a lot of those are step back, sidestep, just errant shots within the Celtics offense. And I just felt like a lot. I mean, Jason Tatum, this is where the performance just baffles my brain. Is Jason Tatum, you see the efficient shooting performance tonight, and he just came up with some big buckets, but a lot of these attempts were just awful the entirety of the game. And that's what I hate to say about this. Like, I want to give Tatum some praise here, especially in maybe the last occasion we give Tatum praise in, and who knows how long. But the reality is, Jason Tatum just did not take good shots tonight. He made some really tough shots tonight. And Paul Mack, you mentioned it earlier, only 4 assists on the night for Jason Tatum. That is, I'm sorry, that's not the level we know Jason Tatum can be at as a playmaker. And I understand raw assists aren't always the most indicative number to look at, but it was very indicative on film. Jason Tatum was not so much looking for the right read, was not so much looking for the hockey assist. He was looking for his own shot. That is what Jason Tatum was looking for tonight. That is what Jaylen Brown was looking for tonight. And they were not looking to attack the defense with intent to create for others. And that's my problem with Tatum and Brown's performance. I mean, both of them go hand in hand in these occasions because they're the two focal points on the offense. Obviously, we're talking about Jason Tatum here, but I understand 42 points, super efficient shooting, and he made some really tough shots, kept the Celtics with the lead or in this game at times, but this is the performance from Tatum and Brown on the offensive end of the floor that we said after game 2 cannot happen. Okay, we cannot be hucking up threes. We cannot be coming down on no pass attempts, or just taking up jacking up a shot off of no passes whatsoever. Just running it up the floor, taking a logo 3. I mean, how many
Derek
logo
White
threes?
Shot like a 5-on-4 like 3-pointer. Like, y'all had a 5-on-4 break, and this dude pulled up a 3.
The 3-point shooting was absolutely ridiculous tonight. I understand we had 18 threes, but I mean, it gets out of hand when we just need a bucket. Okay, there are so many moments where the crowd is into it. The Knicks are clearly on a run. We're not getting a stop at any point in time. And then what do? We come back down, and it's logo 3. It's sidestep 3. It's step back 3. It's no passes into a 3. That's not how the Celtics won game 3. The Celtics won game 3 by going downhill, attacking the rim, getting the defense to collapse, getting good opportunities for guys on the perimeter like Al Horford, like Peyton Pritchard, like Derek White. And Peyton Pritchard himself, I mean, he was spectacular in that game 3 as well. And just tonight, I felt like there weren't enough opportunities out there for Pritchard. That's just the confusing thing about Pritchard is there are moments of the game, or there's moments throughout the regular season and the playoffs, there's moments of games where you look at Pritchard and go, how are you not giving this guy the ball all the time? I mean, tonight, what made no sense to me is at the end of the first quarter, you hand the ball off to Pritchard, and he obviously comes up with a couple of big plays there at the end of the first quarter. Is he in the game at the end of the second quarter? At the end of the third quarter, do you get him involved? No, he's not involved in any of this action, despite being one of the more efficient Celtics offensive players, period. But I know we're talking about Jason Tatum here. Jason Tatum, it's one of those games that I just think if you look at the stat sheet, a bunch of people are going to give Jason Tatum praise for this game. But if you look at the film, it's a lot of tough shot making. It's a lot of errant shot selection. I mean, it's just deplorable shot selection for most of this game. And I'm glad that he was able to make a good amount of them, because if not, the Celtics would have been blown out in this game. But it's just, I mean, come on. Yeah, here we go. There's our names over here, folks. Seamus, Franco, and Paul Mack. Celtics talk. Who commented this? Was it you, Franco?
We were asked for our names.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good.
I'll tell you like a wild kind of Tatum thing too is during the regular season, if Tatum shoots over 25 shots, you guys are 10-3. But the issue is most of those 10 wins are against lesser opponents. Your 3 losses were 2 to Cleveland and 1 to Indiana. So which who are two teams who are also in the postseason, who are also hot right now. Well, Cleveland's kind of completely falling apart, but like that's the thing is you can see like the discrepancy there is like they're almost better against good teams if he's not hucking, 25, 30 shots a game. He shouldn't have to. Like the better teams are going to take advantage of that. And like like him shooting 25 shots is gonna beat Brooklyn and Washington and Minnesota and New Orleans, but like it's not gonna beat Cleveland and Indiana and New York. It's not gonna beat these teams, and that's the thing about someone like him because of how he can fill a stat sheet. Like I would have thought for sure the way this game started, like when this game was 13-4, like. I'm thinking to myself, oh, Tatum's rolling right now. He's getting everybody going, and it's going to be one of those games where he's going to, 8-9 rebounds, 8-9 assists. He's going to drop probably close to 30, and like this has a chance to be tied up going back to Boston. But like once I saw the way he was shooting, I was like, oh, there's no way. You guys have no shot. Like there's no flow. There's nothing. Like he was literally out, and like. That's the worst part sometimes for like scorers when they start scoring. Like he felt like he couldn't miss, and he was just testing that theory of like, what kind of shot can I shoot that's going to go in because I'm shooting these just contested tough shots and they're going in. It's like that's not a strategy that's going to go through the whole game as the game gets tighter, as the defense gets better, as the tempo of the game changes. Like you have to adjust, and like. There just wasn't adjustments, and like you said, it's on Missoula. Like Missoula's got to make adjustments. Missoula's got to do something because like watching, like I imagine film session for this game is going to be really hard to watch. Like, it's going to be a tough film session because your guys' offense in the second half was just literally non-existent, and like when you look at you look at the reasons why. Just the shot selection and the quality of shots you were getting just weren't good.
Well, let's pull this back up. Jason Tatum, giving respect to Jason Tatum tonight, got to fix the graphic because we got to do something right here on Celtics Talk Weekly. 7 of 16 from 3 from Jason Tatum tonight. 7 of 16 from 3, not from the free throw line. And if we wanted the free throw stats tonight for Jason Tatum shot 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Otherwise, he was 16 of 28 from the field, 7 of 16 from 3. We had that marked down as free throws. So just had to get that right there on the graphic. Had to throw up this Tatum graphic, had to make it right because let's face it, I don't know when the next time. I don't know when the next game is where we're gonna actually have Jason Tatum up on a player spotlight graphic, and I know it's tough to talk about that right now, but I mean that's the reality of the situation with the Celtics and Jason Tatum. But tonight, I mean, just in the second half, I was looking at the second half stats real quick here. Jason Tatum, so the Celtics, he shot 15 times in the second half. That led the team. The next two guys in that lineup here, Derek White was 7 attempts, Jaylen Brown was 7 attempts. So Jason Tatum taking more than double than Brown and White with 15 attempts in that second half. The Celtics shot 18 of 42 in the second half, 6 of 24 from 3. So there's that 25% yet again from 3-point land for the Celtics, 6 of 24 in that second half. You think, oh, the Celtics aren't going to shoot. They're not going to shoot 25% from 3 again. Well, that second half they sure did. But the conversation here is on Jason Tatum, and it's one of those games that if you look at the stat sheet, people are going to say, "Oh, Jason Tatum, great game." But to me, the way in which the offense flowed, we've been talking about it this whole post game show, but particularly honing in on it right now. Down the stretch, the way the Celtics offense flowed, and not even down the stretch, but just that third quarter as well in that second half. I mean, it's just deplorable. I mean, you talk about the film session and being a rough film session. The reason it's going to be an even rougher film session than we think is because after game 2, this is the same problem after game 2. And it's the same problem after game 1. It's the offense at the end of games just becoming ultra stagnant, ultra hectic, super rushed, and just void of any off-ball movement, void of any passing, void of any creativity, void of good decision-making. I mean, it's a stark contrast from what we saw last year in the playoffs out of the Celtics team. And it starts with Tatum and Brown, but it also starts with Joe Mazzulla as well. I mean, Joe Mazzulla, this series has been an indictment against Joe Mazzulla because now this is 2 out of 3 playoff runs where Joe Mazzulla sees, oh, look, we are down 0-2 on our home floor against a completely inferior opponent who we should be dominating right now. The Celtics should be dominating the Knicks. They've had moments in the series where they've absolutely dominated the Knicks, but I mean, come on. The way the game plan is actually played out for the Celtics, particularly on the offensive end of the floor, and then just what they've been giving the Knicks defensively in this series. I mean, the Knicks have by far been the better team here in these last 4 games, obviously outside of that game 3, but the other games, they've been the better team. The Knicks have been the better team. They deserve this 3-1 lead right now. But I mean, this is an indictment against Joe Mazzulla. It's an indictment. I mean, Jason Tatum, again, people are going to look at the 42 points and go crazy on Tatum tonight. But it's just Brown and Tatum and Mazzulla. It's like, what? Like the decision making, it really makes you wonder, how did we win a championship last year with what's going on right now? Like, how did we make it through the playoffs last year, knowing the adversity in which has struck the Celtics right now? How they're handling it right now, I mean, it's just baffling. It's absolutely baffling for a team that's been there before, that's been there way before even last year. You talked about, I mean, last year they won the championship, but they'd been there in 2022 and 2023 very deep. I mean, they were there in 2020 and even going into the younger portion of Brown and Tatum's careers when they weren't the guys, but 19 and 18 and even 17 for Jaylen Brown. They've seen these moments before, and the way they treat the moments, it's just it's mind-boggling. We have to bring out that term. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's as if, I mean, the basketball played right now by the Celtics, particularly on the offensive end of the floor. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I think a lot of people are at a loss for words for what we're seeing on that end of the floor right now, because Tatum and Brown, I mean, they are 2 smart characters out there. I'm sorry. They're 2 smart basketball players. And the way in which they're playing right now, the decisions in which they're making, and we don't know Tatum what his status and his availability is going to be moving forward. But just those 2 guys, along with just the game plan in general. I mean, come on, we had a lot more complex action. Andrew and I came in here after game 3 talking about the double high screen and how many actions the Celtics could mine from just that alone. Well, tonight, near the end of the game, what did we see? It was high pick and roll, high pick and roll, high pick and roll over and over and over and over again with no complex off the ball movement to get anybody else a shot. And particularly Derek White, who, I mean, he shot great in that first half. In the second half, not so much, but it goes back to the attempts. I thought Derek White was getting good attempts in that first half, and then in the second half, wasn't really getting those same attempts, just wasn't quite getting those same attempts. And it has to do with the Celtics offense. I mean, whatever you can say positively about Tatum tonight, there's a lot of negative to say about how he played on the offensive end of the floor. I understand again, this is what I'm just putting an emphasis on so everybody can hear it. Super efficient game from Jason Tatum. The scoring out of control. And did he keep the Celtics in the lead? And did he keep the Celtics in this game at points? Sure. However, just the shot selection, the decision making, what we're used to seeing out of Jason Tatum in the regular season is manipulating double teams, manipulating the spacing of the defense. And just tonight and in this series, we haven't seen it. We didn't see it against the Magic either. We didn't see it against the Orlando Magic either. I mean, unfortunately, despite the 3 35 plus point games from Tatum at the end of that Magic series, he wasn't the same Tatum at the end of that Magic series as we saw in the regular season, which was just terrifying to every defense. I mean, every single defense Jason Tatum went up against in the regular season, I mean, he just picked apart and he destroyed. In these NBA playoffs, it's not the same. It's simply not the same. And it's so frustrating because Jason Tatum was clearly a top 5 NBA player this season, top 3 to some. And now in the playoffs, I mean, he has given, unfortunately, I know the conversation, it's going to be a little bit jaded because of this injury that we're going to have to see what comes of it on the horizon. But to all the Tatum haters out there, I mean, they were just waiting for this moment. They were waiting for this moment, and Tatum has actually come through for them. Tatum has come through for all of the Tatum haters. I know the 42-point night, and people, and here's the thing, people in Celtics Nation are going to cling on to Tatum for this performance and defend him to the bitter end. But I'm sorry, looking at the film, It's just atrocious work. It's just absolutely atrocious, horrendous, no good offensive work. When especially, here's what I'm saying too with this performance. The reason Tatum had 42 points, not only was it because of tough shot making, just his ability to make and take tough shots. It was also the shot attempts and just the fact that the entire offense ran through Tatum and he was looking for a shot the entirety of the night. And that's part of the problem I have with this game is he takes 28 attempts on the night. Yes, he's super efficient from the floor, 57%, but a lot of those 28 attempts, it's like they are forced looks within the offense. They are forced looks off of zero action within the offense whatsoever. And you just, and it continues to be the same problems as you get these mismatches if you're Tatum, Mitchell Robinson, Towns, Brunson, whoever it is at the top of the key, whoever you want. It's the same action every time. And it's just becoming very, very predictable and just very, I mean, you're not making the Knicks work if you're Tatum, if you're Brown on defense, and if you're just the Celtics offense in general. You're not making the Knicks work whatsoever off ball. You're not making them work in terms of keeping the Celtics out of the paint. The Knicks aren't working to do that. The Celtics are doing that themselves. And it's just I mean, I'm truly at a loss for words, and this is one of those performances where I just it's hard to talk about because on one hand you have probably the entire Celtics fan base defending Tatum for what he did tonight and how it ended, and they're going to go to war for him because of how emotional the state is of the fan base right now. But just to give just hard-nosed criticism, I mean, this was not a good game out of Brown, Tatum, the rest of the Celtics offense, the rest of the Celtics team, Joe Mazzulla, just absolutely nobody. And I'm glad that Tatum I'm glad that Tatum wants that moment. I'm glad that he didn't shy away from that moment, but at the same time, by wanting that moment, I mean, you just kind of get away from doing what works. And I think that's a big theme of what this series has shown us is the Celtics have just leaned and leaned on statistics and leaned on the analytical side of their game. But in reality, it's not just about throwing up a high volume of threes. It is about throwing up good quality attempts, not even throwing up shooting good quality attempts. That is what the game of basketball is about. It's about manipulating the spacing of the defense. Yeah, I know. I'm at a loss for words, but I'll talk for like 20 minutes. I'm sorry, folks.
42 points and only 3 free throw attempts, like, is crazy.
No, this is
like, that's crazy. That's crazy work. That just shows you the level of shot making that he had tonight. Like, usually if you score 40 points, like, you're getting 8 to 10 from the foul line. Like, he straight up, aside from I don't even think he had a handful of layups. Like, I think he literally had like 3 shots around the rim, and like the rest were just tough shots, man. Like, he was taking tough shots the whole game.
But this was so frustrating is you can see the high pick and roll every single time on his shot chart. Well, first of all, so every shot he took near the rim inside the restricted area, he made all of his attempts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5 in the restricted area. So when we talk about, hey, Jason Tatum, maybe go downhill, get a bucket, go towards the rim a little bit more. That's why we say that. It's like, hey, you're 5 for 5 down inside the restricted area. Now, if you zoom back out, he took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mid-range shots tonight. Out of those 6 mid-range shots, you could also say, technically 7 mid-range shots tonight. 1 was inside the paint, but almost from a mid-range distance. From that standpoint, he shot 4 of 7, so 7 mid-range shot, 4 of 7, and then from 3, it's just, I almost want to show this on screen. We could pull it up on screen, but just the shot chart right here. Look at those 3-point attempts.
Look at those.
First of all, they're all shaded to a certain side of the floor.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about like high IQ, right? Like, so as smart as like Tatum and Brown are,
it's like how is this
Brown,
good offense? How
is, not even that. Like Brown gets gifted
all these
free
attempts
foul
up here, like this attempt, that these are all super deep.
Yeah, like there's no reason to
super deep.
And that's probably when they had the lead. Like, why are you shooting those? Like, why are you even attempting a 30-foot 3-pointer? Like, what are you doing? But like you're talking about like high IQ, right? So like Jaylen Brown late in the game gets gifted a free foul by somehow calling a defensive foul on Josh Hart. That was a charge. I don't care what anybody tells me. he drove right into his chest. That's an offensive foul. He should have had 5.
I already know what you're about to say here. Go ahead.
And then to make that bonehead foul on Anunoby after the steal,
immediately, it was like we just saved Brown from 5 fouls, and then it's
to not have the IQ, and then now you're out for 3 to 5 minutes late in the game when their team needs you.
Out the third
you
quarter.
Just sacrificed yourself for nothing. Like the game was still close. Like you're still in the game, and it's just like those are the mental lapses that Boston doesn't. They don't make that during the regular season. I don't know why it happens now in the postseason, but like he was literally gifted an opportunity to stay on the court. Like that was God telling you, like, we're going to keep him on the court. We have a chance to win this game. And then he just literally immediately just fouls like 2 possessions later and gets his 5th foul. And now
it was immediately. It was off the inbound. It was, because Tom Thibodeau challenged the play, and then it was Celtics ball after the foul after it was,
that's right.
And then immediately off the inbound. So it's even more egregious than just, it was right away. It was immediately right after that. And those are the type of moments we saw. I was on here with Andrew talking the other day, and in game 3, it felt like the Celtics won so many of the reflection moments where you could see, here comes the Knicks run a little bit. Here comes the Knicks crowd. Here comes the MSG crowd. But then the Celtics would shut down all of those moments. They would hit a big 3. They would hit a big bucket. They'd call a timeout. That was such a big theme of game 3 is anytime the Knicks, 6-0 run spurred, 5-0 run. Here comes a 5-0 run. Joe Mazzulla, timeout. And then off of the timeout, the Celtics were able to execute. That was the game. That was the theme of game 3 is the Celtics off of timeouts and off of those Knicks runs were able to execute and get themselves buckets and keep themselves in the lead. Tonight, it felt more like games 1 and 2, where all of those reflection moments, it felt like, oh, no, instead of the lead growing here for the Celtics, it's dwindling, and all of a sudden the Knicks, they have the advantage. And that moment where Jaylen Brown picked up his 5th foul, like that was one of those moments where you're sitting there going, okay, here we go. Yeah, it's Jaylen Brown staying in the game. We just won that challenge, essentially, or the Knicks lost that challenge. And then immediately, and Anunoby goes for the steal, and Jaylen Brown picks up his 5th foul. And there was another one like that right out of a timeout where we had an offensive possession. We needed a bucket right away. The game was getting a little dicey yet again. And then turnover into transition look for the Knicks. And those are all the moments within games 1 and 2 that we saw the Knicks, they're coming back now. The reflection moment. It's like, okay, who has all the momentum and who's actually playing well? It's the New York Knicks. Can we shut them down? No, we're actually just fueling their run further after the timeout because we can't execute. Right. And it was just frustrating. The collapse of the Celtics in this series has been truly something to witness. And a lot of people are going to revise history and look at it as, Jason Tatum, he got hurt in game 4 and put up 42 points and yada, yada. But this series was well on its way to being out of hand for the Celtics before the Jason Tatum injury. And it comes from a lot of the execution on the offensive end of the floor, especially just the offense in the second half, we're talking about it here in total. And the offense in the second half is just, I can't fathom. I can't fathom it how a player like Tatum, a player like Brown, and a coach like Joe Mazzulla, all those guys have rings. I understand last year was definitely a cakewalk for the Celtics, but those guys have rings. Those guys have been there before. Those guys, when you hear them speak at the podium, at the presser, anywhere, you can tell they have some brains on themselves, and they have a level of intelligence that, obviously has made this team very good for the past 2 seasons plus. But tonight, it's unfathomable how just stagnant and how the same mistakes arise over and over and over again for this team. The same mistakes, and not only the same mistakes from earlier this series, it feels like mistakes of the past. This feels like mistakes from 2022 or 2023. We're right back there at this moment.
We're seeing ghosts. It was just terrible to watch, and seeing Jaylen Brown start to, looking at the rest of the series, going back to when we were talking about the OG Anunoby steal that really put this game away after the deferred play call, and it was one of those ball don't lie type of moments where you're seeing guys get the
Classic
look.
get back moment. Yeah.
Yeah. The ball don't lie. That's exactly what I said. I was like, damn. I guess I was joking around in our group chat earlier saying that I guess my Venmo to Scott Foster went through before the game, but that didn't matter. So looks like Scotty's keeping my $100 tonight, and we still walked away with the loss.
Well,
But
26 free throw attempts to 12 tonight.
He gave
for the
us
Celtics.
he gave me my money's worth.
I don't know. I felt like, I don't know. Even though the free throw attempts were there, I felt like there were some. They're in the playoffs. I don't know. There's always some chippy calls made here and there on both sides that I never like. Where it's just like that was a foul, and somehow, there's occasions where guys end up on the floor and there's not a foul, and I don't know. The officiating. That's another thing. I love to rid from these occasions. The officiating did not play a factor tonight.
No. If anything, was it was to the benefit of the Celtics because there were a few calls early that were going against the Celtics and for the Knicks bigs. But looking back at Jason Tatum and his performance tonight and Jaylen Brown, when we look forward to Game 6, which we really haven't even talked about, as Celtics fans, I don't even think we want the next game to even exist. I think we
not even Game 6, Game 5. Game 6 isn't even guaranteed yet.
I'm losing my mind, but yeah, we're looking at Game 5, and we're not even looking at this as maybe Jaylen Brown can get the supporting cast to loop around, and that's something that I wish I could say. But looking at tonight's performance, Jaylen Brown gave us absolutely nothing to really ride upon as confidence, using him as the next man up for the Celtics. He's going to try to do these types of ordeals, and I think that he is more than capable of stepping up for the Celtics. It just depends on what the game plan is, and really if they are able to unlock that killer whale offense instead of doing the great white shark approach that they've been having, which you won't even see another shark within 2 miles of another one. That's what the Boston Celtics offense looks like. It seems like only one player has been able to carry their weight throughout this entire thing. And you're going to see a lot of these changes happen, but I'm starting to look back at the worst timed commercial of all time. It's the Jason Tatum Superman commercial. There was the NBA TNT were creating that advertisement. Where is Superman? Where is Superman? Jason Tatum is going to be able to carry this team. Who is the Iron Man? He just ran into Lex Luthor, which is Tom Thibodeau, and he also had the kryptonite, which has been the Celtics. And you're just seeing the collapse of him and also seeing him fall to an injury is absolutely terrible for the NBA in general. But you're going to see that I just don't know where they're going to go forward without him, and that I just think that ad is kind of symbolic of what this team was running as, which they didn't need to. We saw the Celtics looking like the Justice League last year compared to just having Superman on their team. You also had Green Lantern and Batman, and you had all these other players. But now it just seemed like Tatum was carrying the boatload, and you saw the age and fatigue of Horford, Giroux, and Kristaps Porzingis start to wear out. And it's going to be interesting to see what this team does, and still if they're able to maintain the faith in Jaylen Brown. And I think tomorrow, or will that be Wednesday's game?
I believe it's on Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday. We'll be able to see the what happens with Jaylen Brown, but we see Paul breaking out the butters on us.
Yeah, I just got a phone call. It says Knicks in 5.
Well, you know what? You've been kind to us. You've been kind to us up to that. We knew it was due because it's not it doesn't feel the same. I feel like the fun has kind of been taken out of the Knicks sales once Tatum went down, which we felt in the years prior or last year when Donovan Mitchell would go down, because it kind of rids the series and takes away the legitimacy of a team advancing when a star player goes down.
I think it's different though when like you're already down.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, we know
like,
it doesn't take away the legitimacy of the Knicks potentially winning this series.
Because even in the Cavs series, I mean they were down fucking 40 before Mitchell decided he didn't want to play anymore.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, hopefully these are just like Mitchell and Tatum. Like, hopefully they're just like, we're losing the series. Like, oh man, I gotta come up with something.
But it's also two
like,
teams.
I was out, man. You gotta mark me out. Like we didn't win because I was out.
They've been like you said, they've been generally healthy all year.
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. Is like the Knicks late in the year, like Brunson was down with an ankle. Mitchell Robinson missed a bunch of the first half of the season. Like, get all those injuries out of the way. Get healthy for the postseason. Like, Cleveland didn't have a whole lot of injuries, and then all of a sudden Mobley's down, Garland's down, now Mitchell's down. Tatum goes down now. Like, it's just it's unfortunate for like things to go that way, but I mean it's a long season, and you almost wish that if there's an injury to somebody, it's just early in the year where the games don't necessarily matter, and you just hate to see teams fall apart the way that they're falling apart. And we saw kind of Indiana and you guys take that route last year. I mean, Indiana dealt with a lot of banged up teams to get to where they were, and then you guys had a lot of bad teams playing against you last year. So it's just the way of the draw, man. But like I said, you guys still had a hell of a season, and like again.
Who knows?
Weirder things have happened. Like I'm gonna say Knicks in 5. Like again, you guys still have a lot of talent on your team, and like it'd be interesting to see how the offense flows going forward. Like without Jason Tatum there, like obviously it's gonna put a lot of pressure on Jaylen Brown. He was the Finals MVP last year, so I mean you have that going for you. It's not like you just have Tatum and he goes down. You do have this other guy who has proven to show up in big moments.
Well, that brings up the question of what is the reaction of this Jason Tatum injury? Like, obviously, we're sitting there. We have right now, as of this recording, we don't know what the verdict is going to be on Jason Tatum. We don't know if it's a torn Achilles. We don't know what the injury is. However, if we were to look at what a torn Achilles looks like, certainly the way Jason Tatum went down, it's usually the sign of a torn Achilles. You step back, that wide step, your foot goes back like that, and then you come up, like he came up with a no contact injury, and then he starts writhing around in pain, can't put any weight on it. They carry him off the floor, and then obviously exits in that wheelchair. And then we even actually we have a picture of the wheelchair here. There's Jason Tatum exiting the floor earlier, and just a terrible screenshot here. Jason Tatum is face in his hands, he's crying, he's on the wheelchair, and this was not a Paul Pierce or Marcus Smart wheelchair moment. This was just not. I mean, neither one of those. I mean, both of those occasions, Paul Pierce, Marcus Smart, they come back. This one, Jason Tatum, he did not come back, and we have no idea when the next time is. We don't know when the next time is going to be when Jason Tatum puts on that Celtics uniform again. We don't know if it's going to be Game 5 or if it's going to be later on down the line, whether it's next season or even hopefully not, but the season after that. Jason Tatum here in the wheelchair after the game, not after the game, during the fourth quarter, coming off the floor here, but just general reaction to Jason Tatum. What did you guys think when Jason Tatum actually went down on the floor? What were some of the first thoughts coming into fruition when Jason Tatum, you see him go down with that injury? What are some of the first thoughts that come to mind in that scenario outside of, okay, obviously, that might be an Achilles tear, but what are some of the ramifications and what are the thoughts that come through? It
happened so quick. Like I had to wait for the replay because I wasn't sure if like he was going for the loose ball, rolled an ankle. Like I wasn't really sure what it was until like they kind of panned away after the Knicks got the layup, and he's just kind of like breakdancing on the floor, like literally just spinning in circles in pain. That they showed it. The moment I saw it a second time, I was like, "Oh, that's an Achilles, 100%." That is classic.
I think that's everybody's reaction.
Classic.
The first
Achilles.
time the first time they replayed it, it was like, Oh, really?
Especially because it was the
like
foot.
I was hoping to see
It was the
him
back
come down
foot.
on a leg or something,
Yeah,
turning that ankle, but
it was the back foot, right? It was the one that kind of stretched. So
no, it was exactly the motion you would see with an Achilles tear, where the guy takes that wide back step, and then it's just that the leg, the way it extends, it's like you're pulling that tendon.
He went down. He went down like a sniper shot, dude. He was just down, and it's like that's the thing about those is they're always the same. Like there's that overextend, and then they're just on the ground. Unless you're Kobe, you get up and shoot free throws, I guess. But like that's the only guy I think that can just walk off the court after tearing his Achilles because he's a maniac. But there was no doubt that once I saw the replay that I knew he was done, and like it's rough to happen this late in the postseason too, because like you said, that this is an injury that's going to linger well into next season. Like at that
he
point,
could be out all of next year.
Yeah, or at that point, do you just
Achilles
sit him out?
Usually that 1 year injury.
Unless you're
even DeJounte Murray, he tore his Achilles against us earlier this year.
We'll send Jason Tatum on top of the mountains with Aaron Rodgers to do some ayahuasca treatment, and then we'll have him back before the
apparently stem cells can do wonders for him. But
speed bridge
basketball's
bridge.
Basketball's a different sport though. Like you have to do the full. Like you can't come back the way it's different, man. Like he's especially someone like him, so athletic, explosive. Like
that is what really is worrying me here. Is like Durant was able to come back, but he wasn't. I mean, to me, Durant actually has not been the same in terms of driving and going downhill and attacking as he was in the early portion of his career. But that's what I worry about Jason Tatum now is he's going into his prime, 26, 27. I mean, this is what is just so devastating about this injury. He's age 26 right now. He's likely, if this is a torn Achilles, he's going to miss his age 27 season. Like that is, and he's going to be dealing with Achilles rehab for ages 27 and 28. That is just like, that is career. Like this injury is career altering for Jason Tatum. If it's not more than, or if it's not just a calf strain, if it's more than a calf strain,
plays for sure. Like it's going to change. Like it changes your. Like you see guys, they come back from it, and they're not as aggressive. It's always in the back of their minds. So like you have to worry about that too. Is like is it going to be a mental thing for him? Like what's his mental, fortitude going to be like? Because like there's a lot of guys that it ends up being fine. Like it is what it is. But like some guys, like just the mental aspect of like I tore my Achilles, I need to not tear my Achilles again. Like just ruins them. But I mean, he's turned into quite the jump shooter. So I mean. He'll just have to shoot 16 threes a game.
That's not what Celtics fans want to hear.
No, see, that's the thing is like tonight was the kind of like Jason Tatum. If you want to see how he might play with an Achilles tear in the future, it's like, he might be jacking up 16 threes a game in the future, and he might be taking more threes than twos for every game in the future. Good. But I want to say, like, yes, to me the mental side of it matters, but just the physicality, the athleticism, the explosion, that is something we always hear from different guys who have torn their Achilles. They come out and say, look, when I tore my Achilles, I just lost all my explosion. I lost my ability to literally get that quick first step in on my, whether it's in football or basketball, that first step, that quick first burst that you can get on your defender and your opponent. That's so big within the realm of sports. And if you don't have it in the game of basketball, your style of play is certainly going to change just a little bit. I will say this is usually an injury that we see affect guards more than any. I mean, yes, you could say bigs for. I mean, it's all. I mean, the bigs, the foot injuries with the bigs are just a big concern there. But
was it his left? Was it his left Achilles?
Left.
Was it his left?
I think it was his left because that's the one he extended. Yeah. So that's the thing too. As a right-handed player too, like he's jumping off his left. Like that's going to really change around the basket. Like you're predominantly going to finish with your right hand, so you're jumping off your left foot 90% of the time.
No, this is a rough outlook. Like right now, it's like I mean, it is just to be out potentially all of next year in the age 27 season for Tatum, and to be ascending upon like this season we saw, and that's what just breaks my heart is that this season we saw the peak of Jason Tatum, And now I just question, are we ever going to see that level and that peak again? Are we going to see top 5 MVP Tatum again in 2 years? Is that what's going to happen? Are we going to be able to see that? And look, this will be, this conversation is going to be hilarious if it comes out tomorrow. Oh, it's just a calf strain and that's it. Because, hey, we've seen that before. Guys come up with calf strains and it looks the same way, where they step back and they have that little moment where they rile in pain, but then all of a sudden it's just, oh, it's a strain. It's not a full tear. But that did not, I mean, the whole sequence just did not look good whatsoever. And now it just raises a ton of questions about the future of the Boston Celtics, because it not only goes from, is Tatum going to look the same when he comes back? Is he going to play next season? It also goes to, the Celtics, they have an astronomical tax bill facing them next season. What is the motivation to pay that astronomical bill if Jason Tatum, your top superstar, isn't going to be in the lineup? Are you going to be as inclined to pay as big of a luxury tax? That's where we could see, instead of instead of seeing in the offseason just a couple of chips taken off the block, like, okay, yeah, Porzingis, maybe we move his salary for a better salary out there. It could be a full sale out there. It could be a full total. I mean, I don't expect us to sell like it's the trade deadline and we're trying to tank or something like that, but I could certainly see us selling high on players like Porzingis and Holiday and Sam Hauser and just go, look, we're the way we're running it next season, we're going to be running out here like the Clippers. Like the Clippers, they ran half the season without Kawhi, and we don't know how long we're going to be without Jason Tatum, but I could see a scenario where it's just a bare bones roster and we go as far as we go. We either we make the play in, we compete and we compete with the rest of the Eastern Conference, or we're just totally awful and we're down there in the doldrums of the East. I mean, we look at tonight's NBA landscape, and we had the NBA draft lottery earlier. I mean, this is the first mention of this on this program. The NBA draft lottery, the Dallas Mavericks win the first overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft lottery. We see the fortunes of franchises change just immediately. I mean, tonight we went from, if the Celtics win this game tonight, they're right back on track to winning back-to-back titles. It's 2-2. It's a best-of-3 series. The Celtics, they could pull out a best-of-3 series against the Knicks. And then in front of the Celtics, you have potentially the Pacers and then whoever out of the West, whether it's maybe the Timberwolves just took a 3-1 lead, by the way, over the Golden State Warriors. So the Warriors, they're certainly in dire straits themselves right now. But maybe the Wolves, the Nuggets, or the Thunder, who knows, out West. And that's just, it's so quick. It's so quick. The emotional roller coaster is so quick. We came into tonight. I mean, the Celtics had a chance. They had a chance at back-to-back titles tonight. And now it just seems like it's completely out the door, where the Celtics are likely going to lose this series to the New York Knicks in embarrassing fashion. Jason Tatum, we have no idea how long he's going to be out. He could be out the entirety of next year. And all of a sudden it just goes from, well, we're well on our way to potentially holding up back-to-back trophies to, when is that next opportunity? It might not even be next season. It could be the season after that or the season after that. And, it takes time to build up a contender and really have everybody clicking. And we even saw last season, the Celtics got very lucky with all the injury luck in which they did see. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis was out of the lineup for the entirety of the playoffs last year, for most of the playoffs. But again, no Donovan Mitchell round 2, no Jimmy Butler round 1 in the conference finals, no Halliburton. You face a 5-seed Mavericks team, and it just felt like all the puzzle pieces came into place for the Celtics. And we saw that luck turn towards the Celtics last year. Now this year, I mean, it's just the other way around. That luck has turned the other way. Obviously, the biggest stroke of bad luck the Celtics saw tonight was just the luck of Jason Tatum and potentially his Achilles and whatever. I mean, whatever we see out of that, we, again, could still be. I'm going to talk it into existence here, Franco. Calf strain, all right? Calf strain. I mean, it's going to be the funniest notification in the world when it comes out and it says Sean Sharania notification, and it goes, oh, Jason Tatum is out with a calf strain. And it's like, oh, well, we're losing the series, but at least we have Tatum next year. At least we're, 2 and 3 years. We'll take 2 and 3 years. How about that?
That's the thing. You have him under contract to what, 2029?
But a wasted season a wasted season now is from Tatum is just such a blow, because you have this roster in place. It's not sustainable over a long period of time with the tax bill in front of the Celtics. Tatum's going to be going into his age 27 season, and if he's having to rehab an Achilles injury all of next year, he's going to be wasting a season in his prime. And then the year afterwards, he's going to be working himself back into play. And that's basically 2 seasons of his prime that just go out the window. You just don't have many
wasted cap too now, because now you're going to have to make roster moves. And your best player's not even playing.
That is a huge thing. That's why I think the Bucks are probably going to move on from Giannis. Is the Bucks? I mean, look, Damian Lillard, he tore his Achilles. That's $54 million of inactive salary next year for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's like you're going to have to make up $54 million worth of salary on your roster somewhere else. And that's what the Celtics will have to do with Tatum as well. It's just a big blow because you don't have many opportunities with superstars or teams to win championships. And the fact that Jason Tatum is going out as he's just ascending into his prime. I mean, he is at age 26 or 27, 28, 29. He's supposed to be even better right now. And this was the peak season we saw out of him this season. He's supposed to be even better right now than we've seen in the past. And all of a sudden, I mean, it could be a scenario where we don't see Jason Tatum until, what's crazy enough, October of 2026. That is how long it could be until we see Jason Tatum play basketball again. And October of 2026, that just seems like a really long time away. I mean, right now in May of 2025, October of 2026 seems very, very far away. And it just shows how, how great situations in the NBA and any sports, in any sports league, and any great situation, you cannot take it for granted, and you have to cherish it when it's in front of you, because you see how fast things can change. I mean, seriously, tonight, the future of the Boston Celtics changed tonight, not only with this result, not only with the result of the game we saw here, but obviously the injury to Jason Tatum. That's just, I mean, I cannot even, I don't feel like we can properly describe or even put into words how massive that moment could have been for the Celtics and the divergent future of the Celtics, of where it could be heading now versus where it could have been heading if this series just went differently in so many different facets in so many different ways. I mean, just I don't want to say I'm at a loss for words, because that, I mean, we already saw in the comments, I definitely am never at a loss for words, but it is almost like you get to the end of this and you're just like, I don't know what to, I don't know what more to say to better the situation, to analyze the situation even further, because it's just shocking. It's very shocking. Like this, the way the season is ending. I mean, I always knew that, hey, look, it's possible the Celtics, we're thinking, yeah, back to back, back to back, back to back. I mean, it's possible we get our hearts broken. Obviously that you get eliminated, and winning the title is never guaranteed, but just right now, it's just the way it happened. Just at MSG and in Game 4, Jason Tatum goes down with the injury in which he sustains. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. Losing to the Knicks is one thing, but then losing your superstar in the same occasion is just another level of just awfulness, I will say. But we see here Jaylen Brown at the podium tonight, just to bring up a couple of tweets. Jaylen Brown on Jason Tatum's injury. It's tough. There's not really a lot to say, and a lot of reports coming out of the locker room tonight that very quiet locker room, very somber locker room, very somber press conferences, not a lot of energy. I mean, just for the loss alone, the energy is going to be shot from the Celtics point of view, but I mean, come on, the Jason Tatum injury, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Celtics respond in Game 5, whether they muster up that motivation to go out and actually win themselves another ball game in this series, or if I mean, I could see a world where the Celtics do roll over in this situation because of how just shell shocking this whole, I mean, the last 4 games have been going down 2-0, and then tonight losing, going down 3-1, but then also losing Tatum. I mean, there are going to be it's gut check time for the Celtics. I mean, they're not out of this season yet. They're not eliminated yet, but that locker room is not, they're not in good spirits right now. I'll say that. They are not in good spirits at all. But I do want to talk about here at the end of this, and I'll mention this. Man, I don't know what we should talk. I want to mention this player real quick. Just going back on this. I want to mention this player, Kristaps Porzingis. Okay, Paul Mack has exited the program, I see. Me and you, Franco. Here we go. All right, let's dive into this real quick. Kristaps Porzingis. Franco, is Kristaps Porzingis moved this summer? Yes or no?
I'm waiting to do all my that that was it was unavoidable after this game. Every single person has been turning into the couch GM, and when this series isn't over yet, but we're starting to see. I I think that we'll see like this team start to really roll back around in other fashions. But looking at the way he's been playing, you're definitely not going to see this iteration of him ever again for the Celtics because of the poor play that he's been showcasing in this playoffs. If this illness is something, this could be something that has a long-term effect on his career. If he isn't able to play 30 minutes in a game ever again in his career, just a full 100% healthy Kristaps Porzingis, his physical issues were enough, but now that it's starting to have an immune system effect upon him, really, really makes him a very questionable player to have on your roster and have, especially when you need to become more dependent on your star players, especially rolling into next year when Jason Tatum is going to be out. You'll be looking at every single player on this team to step up if Jason Tatum forbid that he is out for the rest of the season. You're going to be looking to rely on those guys to step up huge and be able to carry out their positions. But this is why this next game is so important, because this is when I feel like the Celtics can really prove a lot, is if they can go out into this game where you have the Celtics nation pretty much giving up on the chances of this team being able to come back and make this a series. And I think there's still definitely the star power on this team with Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis, and possibly Al Horford to fill in and be able to carry this team to another win against the New York Knicks and make it an interesting Game 6 if that ends up being the case. But other than that, I don't want to look at the offseason. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of moves that are going to turn into a lot of different teams, and I think that you're going to see a lot of contracts that are larger, shipped out for smaller, more rental type players, a lot more role players around this team. And you're going to be able to see this team really focus on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown being the core centerpieces and not as much of a super team, because you're never going to see after the season. It's going to be a long time until you see a starting five as good as what the Celtics were putting out on paper for the past 2 years.
On that note, though, I gotta roll.
Go ahead.
I do appreciate you guys, though. Good luck. If you need me, I'm around.
Yep. Well, series
care,
review
man,
possibly.
Good luck. Yeah, man. We'll see how Game 5 goes. But appreciate you guys. Appreciate everything you guys do, and I'll catch y'all. All right.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for
sir.
having us.
Yes. Thank you for joining,
Thank
Paul.
you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Having us. Join us.
Yeah, it was
Talk Weekly. I'm so defeated over here as a Celtics fan that they just took over it's Knicks Talk Weekly now. Who cares?
It's like turn the jersey color up here to blue, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But yeah. Just Jason Tatum's injury. I just keep on thinking about that Superman commercial and how much the NBA screwed us with that. I feel like I'm just like repeating myself, but the Iron Man and it kind of showed the Celtics, like it kind of portrayed what the Celtics' dependency on Jason Tatum was. And if he doesn't show up, will anyone on this team be able to?
Yeah, going ahead. First of all, just talking about Kristaps Porzingis. This man, his job is just on the line in these next couple of games. It might already be decided, but the availability is enough for me to be wary on investing further in Kristaps Porzingis into the future. His availability is enough for me. His availability straight up. I mean, he's only available. It's a 50-50 shot. So he's like Robert Williams. It's 50-50 whether he plays or not. But tonight's game, and even this series out of Porzingis, and even that Magic series, this playoff run, has just been utterly hellacious. And I know, people are going to throw out the excuses of, oh, Porzingis, his upper respiratory illness, he's not right. He's clearly not. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Tonight, there were some moments down the stretch of this game where
if you're going to
I
be
felt
out,
like Porzingis was a zero.
Yeah.
If you're going to be out there, I mean, come on. It was ridiculous. It was Porzingis, some of the attempts going towards the rim. I mean, we never expected Porzingis to be this crazy, strong, physical player.
No.
But we also don't expect him to be the softest player in the world like he was on some of these driving attempts. And just otherwise, too, I mean, he's just not a factor within the Celtics offense whatsoever. And then some of the putback opportunities and some of the mismatch opportunities by Porzingis inside the paint.
So
I mean, seriously, I mean, they are – the intent isn't there.
Who was the person that had that? I think it was off of a Peyton Pritchard 3-pointer that was a missed shot, and Kristaps Porzingis was there to put it back, which was a great sign out of Kristaps. But just seeing the way he did it it just looked so fatigued. It looked like he was just like out of breath when he did it. It was so, his health out there looked so out of shape. And like, he just looked heavy on breathing. He looked like he couldn't even get his feet off the ground throughout this entire game, especially when he was matched up against the bigs. When the ball was bouncing out of the paint, he was almost a non-factor. It seemed like the ball was going through his body every time Cat and Mitchell Robinson grabbed a rebound, and he was just a non-factor every time that Derek White got burned. And I'm sure there's a stat on that somewhere, but every time that you saw a Knicks player able to penetrate the paint, it was off of with a number 9 jersey trailing behind him. And that was very concerning to see, but also just seeing the lack of help defense. You're supposed to be able to put up a hand, and the Knicks were able, once they got past the first level, they just were cracking through and getting backdoor passes on Kristaps Porzingis. And he was so late on his reactions that it looked like he was just so like head sick or something, or so just fatigued out there that he didn't know what was going on in the basketball game. When he was setting the picks, they looked like they were just him putting his hands there and just waiting for the guy to just pull him over like he was a candle pin. It was just a very fragile approach, and seeing
that is the definition of Porzingis, though. It's like fragile approach. It's like all the time. It's like very, very careful. It's not very forceful ever. It's not very forceful.
My favorite word to use for Kristaps Porzingis ever since I joined the program and Kristaps Porzingis was wearing a Celtics jersey was one word that you'll find if you go through our teleprompters and scripts is you'll see Kristaps Porzingis and bubble wrap next to each other.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Just keep Kristaps in the bubble wrap. Just keep him in the bubble wrap until the offseason. Once we get to the playoffs, he'll be ready to take on the world, and he'll just be such a different factor. He's the third player in the Celtics big three, and he has all the potential to, and hopefully like I said, this team just makes it very hard to have confidence in them going into game 5 that you're going to be able to see these guys step up. However, if they are able to take full advantage of these games and the minutes and opportunities that are now going to be on the court now that Jason Tatum is battling an injury, it's a great chance for them just to step up and prove to Bill Chisholm, who is the man who just walked into TD Garden with the big fat $5-6 billion checkbook, wrote it down, has been sitting courtside next to Wick Grossbeck and being like, all these guys out here are my employees. Who am I going to keep around and who is going to make $30 million of my money? Is it going to be the guy that's been sitting next to me throughout this entire regular season on the bench, Kristaps Porzingis? I don't think I feel like paying him $35 million if he's going to be only playing 35 games next year. What's that, $1 million per game? I'm not having any of that. Ship him out. Oh, Drew Holiday, he's not been too much of a factor on this team, even though we know what he's capable of. He was one of the main reasons and factors in the Celtics being able to win a championship last year and would have been one of the key factors in a championship run again this year from the Celtics if they were able to survive this series. And who knows what's going to happen. But now he's potentially looking at it. All these guys who are making big money and are underperforming are really doing it at the wrong time. It's like when you are working that corporate job and you're just having the time of your life with your coworkers, and then you hear, oh, corporate's coming into town today. And you're like, oh shit, we're all just hanging out in the break room. That's what it feels like. And now you have your manager who is working his ass off injured. And now corporate's wondering what happened to the guy that I'm supposed to be marketing with my new $6 billion franchise for next year. So that's where I think the Celtics are going to reach a boiling point, is because you're going in with a guy that's not going to be playing any bullshit this offseason when it comes to getting the finances correct on this team, because from what we've heard, this team's been losing money in their ownership. Obviously, the revenue and stocks have went up drastically for this team, but the cost of operation does not convert over to revenue. And unfortunately, this is sports entertainment. This is a business. This is an entertainment business. And if it's not making money or it's not succeeding and not living up to expectations, because I'm sure if they won back-to-back this year, we would only have to be worrying about the coin flip of, are the Celtics going to be keeping Luke Cornett or Al Horford next year? And who are they going to bring in the draft? And who's going to be the veteran player to sign a minimum contract to join this team? And, are we going to have to move Sam Hauser? But now we're looking at the whole reality of the fact that this starting lineup is most likely going to look like a completely different crew. And for all we know, we could be looking at a team that we have players like Ennis Freedom. Obviously, he's out of the league, but it could be as drastic as like a 2020.
That would be some.
It would be
if Ennis Freedom was playing center for the Celtics next year. If he's playing center for the Celtics, I mean, come on, this is.
It's like a Yusuf
that is
Nurkic.
real dire.
That's what I'm talking about. I feel like this team could just chop off all the salary and just be bringing in some role players that are nowhere close to the talent of the players that they have on the roster today. But guess what? They are cheaper, and the Celtics get to save money. And unless you're winning rings, money talks. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and that's what's so concerning about this Tatum injury is maybe next year you're thinking, okay, even if we lose this series or losing the playoffs this year, there's a case to be made that next year, okay, you somehow flip Porzingis or Holiday or a combination of you now being over the second apron, the Celtics couldn't put together a combination.
No.
But in terms of combination of like sending guys elsewhere in separate deals, Hauser, Porzingis, Holiday, you could send those guys elsewhere and potentially get something for them that could bolster the roster for next year, while also paying a better salary bill. I mean, or a luxury tax bill, that is. You could find yourself in a position next year if you're the Celtics, if Tatum is healthy, where maybe you're just as good as this season and maybe you're just as good of a roster, but you're actually paying less for that roster. That's what the Celtics want to see achieved within the franchise next year. However, the way the Celtics are going out this year, I mean, it's not saving anybody on this roster. I mean, the wins, the championships, the rings, it saves this roster. All right.
There's a chance that next year we would have went in with the same starting lineup next year if we went back to back. There's a chance. That's what my main.
And even if we went to the finals, I mean, if we could make a case to go to the finals, we lose in 6-7 games. I mean, that's another scenario where you're thinking, this team's still pretty good. But going on the second round, and then also you factor in the Tatum injury. If Tatum's not going to be healthy next year, which again, just a massive speculation right now, just a massive speculation. But if he's not healthy next year, I mean, this becomes an operation where you just
you're relying on 35-year-old
down just a little bit.
You're relying on 35-year-old Drew Holiday next year. And you're relying on
Holiday and Porzingis. If Tatum's not going to be healthy next year, why wouldn't you sell those guys high? Because to me, it's like Porzingis, he's going into his 30s. You think any of this durability is going to get any better? Holiday's in his mid-30s. That's what's frustrating too about tonight's losses. Horford, Holiday, Porzingis, they're barely involved in the offense, and those are the three guys that all season long, it's bubble wrap, got to keep them off the court. It's all got to and then in the most important game of the season, it's like, how active are they? They're not even making an impact. I mean, we wrapped them in bubble wrap all season just for them not to make an impact in game 4 in the biggest game of the season. That's also a crushing blow here to the Celtics, just in the
bubble
wrap
damaged goods. We bubble wrap broken china. That's what we did. We bubble wrapped something that shouldn't have even been bubble wrap, because you see what happens when you forge a team by the fire. Hence, this New York Knicks team, they have been playing their asses off. One thing I brought this up earlier on in the show is how much crap Thibodeau has received from other coaches, from us as analysts and journalists and writers and people who watch and cover the NBA. We wonder why he feels so comfortable just playing his players to a point where they're over 45 minutes in a game. And we see that as something that's absurd, but now you're starting to see why he does that and why those players are ready to take on the Boston Celtics. The Celtics could be the fastest track sprinters in the world, but right now they're going against a team that's a cross-country team. And they're outrunning the Celtics, out managing the Celtics, and really getting them to a point where they're putting Tatum on an island to a point where he's getting injured, and leading to the supporting cast being there with their thumbs up their asses on the baseline, not knowing where to help out this team.
Here's the thing. Some things are looked at in NBA history as, oh, well, that's good, and then it goes awry, and then it's bad, and it can be looked at on both sides. Tom Thibodeau playing his players a ton of minutes, I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, I think it's I am not in favor of playing. In the playoffs, if you want to go out there and exhaust your players, go ahead. But what I'm not in agreement with is Tom Thibodeau in January going, okay, Mikal Bridges, you're going to average 43 minutes here. Or Brunson, you're going to have in January. That's where the criticism comes for Tom Thibodeau. And even in this series, like, that's the thing about this series. It's not as if I give the Knicks a lot of credit for what they've been able to do. But to me, it's not as if Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks, like, they're mastering this great game plan against the Celtics. It's just the Celtics are literally shooting themselves in the foot, and they just can't reconcile it. It's the most, I mean, the games 1 and 2 really, I mean, both of those games, the Celtics obviously should have won up 20 both times. But then I think it caused game 4 here tonight, because game 4, if games 1 and 2 don't happen in the way in which they do, game 4, I don't think we have the same vibe. I mean, when the Celtics could not extend that lead beyond 14, and actually when the Celtics grabbed that 14-point lead, it was immediately met by, I believe, a 10-0 Knicks run. I mean, that was what I was talking about too earlier. Is like every single time the Celtics, you thought, oh, they're going on a run to put this lead back up to a comfortable spot. It was like, oh, 7-0 Knicks run, 8-0 Knicks. I mean, it wasn't even one of those things where you go, oh, trade buckets, and then the Knicks go on a run. It was more of just, boom, the Knicks would go on a run. and it would just shell shock the Celtics. But that's what I'm saying is in Game 4, when even we're up 14 there in that third quarter, nobody is comfortable. Like absolutely nobody is comfortable with that. And we were sitting there too, going into the fourth quarter. That the scenario playing out in front of my eyes going into the fourth quarter was exactly why the first two games were so big. You drop those first two games, they're outlier games for the Celtics. The Knicks role players were playing well tonight. Anunoby was playing well tonight. Bridges was playing well tonight. Towns and Brunson both had it going tonight. So
1000%.
both your offensive guys had it going. And then Anunoby and Bridges, they both shoot tremendously well in this game. And even Miles McBride off the bench had two big threes in this game. He's not somebody who typically comes into the game and scores, but he had himself a couple of points tonight. But you have this overwhelming performance by the Knicks, like a game in which they shoot 54% from the floor. They have not shot well. The Knicks have not shot well all series long. The first three games, they were up 2-1. They hadn't shot well all series long. We knew that the Knicks, a Knicks good shooting game was on the horizon somewhere, and it was tonight, but it was also in an occasion where in that fourth quarter, the scenario coming in front of my eyes, I was going, this is exactly what the Celtics don't want. They do not want a scenario where all of a sudden you're playing on the road, MSG must win, and now you have to come back down from a deficit. It's not about protecting the lead anymore if you're the Celtics. It's about actually turning the tides and overcoming a deficit. And that was the biggest worry after the first two games is, number one, the Knicks shooting and how well they shot tonight. You knew a nice shooting performance was on the horizon for the Knicks at least once in this series. We were hoping, hey, maybe it's 5-6 later on down the line after we've already tied it up. But it was tonight in Game 4, that first element, but also the second element of the fact the Knicks were just controlling the game going into the fourth quarter after the Celtics controlled it for the majority of the game up until that point. And the Celtics, although they controlled it, you didn't feel comfortable about it. And then once the Knicks actually grabbed the lead going into that fourth quarter, and once they started adding a couple buckets onto that in the fourth quarter with Mikal Bridges, another role player in which, I mean, Mikal Bridges, give him his praise for what he is with the team. He's a starter with the Knicks, but in terms of the whole cast of the Knicks, he's more of a role player on this team, and he's more of the others. It's part of the others. Brunson and Towns, they're the main two offensive components. All the other guys you don't want beating you if you're the Celtics. And that fourth quarter, it's just Bridges starts going off, and then the Knicks, they create that lead, and the Celtics fall into that deficit. And that's the exact scenario we could not see the Celtics fall into is, we have to come back down from a lead in a game where the Knicks are shooting out of their minds. And then all of a sudden, yes, because we lost those first two games, we're in that scenario in Game 4. Now, obviously, we're down 3-1, and then just adding salt onto the wound at the end of the game. I mean, come on, this game is worse. I mean, it's bad enough already.
It would have been, yeah. This was already a difficult
Tatum goes
show to
down.
cover.
It's like this is like, I mean, this is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like that's kind of what it's. That's the okay. I mean, no, I mean, just looking at the comparison, it's like that's what it is. Like you get hit with the first atomic bomb, and then all of a sudden you get hit with the second one and the Jason Tatum injury. I mean, that's just now. Thankfully, no people died in this situation. I'll say that. Okay, no people died. Rest in peace to all the people in Japan 80 years ago. As you know, we'll say the victory in Europe was 80 years ago, May 8th. Just commemorating that. Although that the bomb droppings were in August that year, but that's what it feels like right now for this franchise. It feels like one bomb was dropped with the loss and the 3-1 lead, and the other bomb was Jason Tatum going out of the lineup, and that's just kind of the parallels there. I don't know. Was that are we past the 1940s enough for that comparison? I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
I think we're fine.
Comment section. Anybody with a take on this? I don't know. I mean,
it's just all Knicks fans. Pretty much like.
No, I want to say this to Knicks Nation too. Y'all weren't talking after game number 3. Y'all weren't talking after game number 3, but y'all come and talk after game number 4.
No,
keep that energy, man, because guess what? You're going to be playing a series against the Pacers, maybe. It's like the Pacers have that dog in them, all right? The Pacers have that dog. They're the closest NBA team to my location right here, okay? So I mean, I know about the Pacers. They have that dog. You got to bring that energy every game. Come on now. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's just the front running.
But yeah,
front runner creds.
And what's happening is I think that it really kind of took away just being able to cover this game and being able to say, like, just in general, if we had to come into this game, I feel like we would have been meeting a lot more of a rambunctious Knicks crowd, and they would be feeling a lot more better with this win if Jason Tatum was healthy. And now it seems like a lot of this concern just reverts away from what's going on in this series and for this team going forward, what we're going to see out of them. And no one wants to see this. Even New York fans have been very adamant about wanting to be able to beat Jason Tatum in 6 games and being able to claim that the series was a cakewalk with Jason Tatum in the roster and prove that Jason Tatum is not the player that Celtics fans claim he is. And that's kind of been drifted away from him. And I brought that up with Paul Mack, and seeing just like the outcome of where they're going to go from here is going to be a really fun off season for us. That's what a thing that we'll know for sure.
I'm like, I thought we were in for a fun playoff run. It's like, nope, psych. Nope. You guys are going to be scheduling recordings over the off season, talking about how weird this is about to be.
Fun, special guests. That's all I can say about when we have an off season, and I'm sure we'll have some some good news for you guys once pen hits paper. But we won't spoil anything there.
Right.
But we'll be back better than ever here on Celtics Talk Weekly next year. We'll promise you that much.
Definitely.
Yes. And just wondering how this team can go into Game 5. I think that there's no way that we're going to see this team roll over. I think we're going to actually see the Celtics shock a lot of the Celtics fans and thinking that this team is rolling over, because we've never had a reason to think that. And knowing Joe Mazzulla is even one of the people that are on the line, which I think is just a stupid conversation to have, which I'm sure we'll end up inevitably having during this off season.
We're going to be having it right after. If we come back in the series, I think it's off the table. But
let's save that.
No, we could have talked about it tonight, but I was going. You know what? I think this is going to be a conversation.
Hold it off. We don't. That could make us look bad if things started to go well. But
to be fair, we already look horrendous.
I think
we were sitting here before the series. Like, I'm thinking back to all the takes we had before the series, and it's like, oof,
we were wrong.
Yikes! No, it's like, but we got to say, these playoffs. I'm sorry, the NBA playoffs every single year, they just make the entirety of the NBA community look stupid. Because, last year we didn't think the Pacers were going to make it all the way to the conference finals. We didn't think the Mavericks were going to make it all the way to the finals. We didn't think the Nuggets were going out round 2 to the Wolves. This is what happens in the NBA playoffs. It happens every single year. I outlined it. I don't know what special I outlined it in, but the top one, the two top one seed, the number 1 seeds in both conferences have not made the conference finals since 2019. So 2019, that was the Bucks and the Warriors in 2019. Those 2 number 1 seeds made the conference finals that year, and even in that year, the Bucks don't make the finals. So, we see every single year we see something go awry within the NBA playoffs, whether it's with superstar injuries or results or anything like that. There are always results that make the NBA world look just utterly stupid. But yeah, before this series, rough. But I will say this.
Go
ahead, Franco. Go ahead.
Well, if you have another topic, go ahead. But I was gonna ask you to retrace to the flowers I gave Paul Mack and the Knicks when I brought up that throughout the past year or two, we've been saying that the Celtics are the team to beat. If no team is going to win a championship without beating the Celtics. Does that still ring true to you, or do you see that being the case for the New York Knicks, or how do we feel about those types of problems?
I gotta say, I mean, the championship right now is so up in the air. It's
Right.
like I think the only 5 teams you're considering right now, it's the Thunder, it's the Nuggets, it's the Pacers, it's the Knicks, it's the Wolves. I mean, the Celtics and the Warriors, they're out. The Cavs, they're out. I mean, that's just they're out. I mean, 3-1. I mean, yeah. Here's the thing though. 3 series where yeah, 3 series where it's 3-1 right now. It's like
Do you see anyone making it? Who has
but
the
here's the
best chance
thing,
of
none of the
making it out
teams
of it?
I don't see any of these teams making a comeback because the Cavs, the time to actually turn up the energy was yesterday. I mean, the Cavs, when you're beat by 40 points, I mean, you're sorry, they were beat by 20 points, but they were down 40 at halftime. The game was over at halftime. The Cavs were down 40 points on the road. When you're beat up, like, okay, when you're beat like that, I mean, that just shows something about your team, but also the Cavs, I think they're wildly banged up right now. Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, I don't think they're 100% healthy whatsoever. DeAndre Hunter, I don't think they're 100% healthy. As for the Celtics, this series, I mean, games 1, 2, and 3 all felt the same. Great, we grabbed game 3, but then now it's like, is Jason Tatum even going to play game 5? I don't. The Celtics, I could see the Celtics pulling some nonsense and winning game 5, but then to win game 6 and game 7 in this series, I mean, it's tough right now if you're the C's. It is a tough
Very
look.
uphill.
Just tough because you have thrown away. I mean, every game you've lost this series, if you're the Celtics, you've actually led a majority of the time in. I mean, seriously, every single game the Celtics have lost this series, they led in for the majority of the game. So even with a lead, I don't feel comfortable with the Celtics team at all. And then the Warriors, I mean, their obvious problem, they don't have Steph Curry. I mean, you don't have Steph Curry. That's like not having Jason Tatum. That's like not having Giannis. That's like not having LeBron or Jokic. That is the same level. If you don't have Steph Curry, your team becomes lesser than a play-in team if you're the Warriors, really. And that's where they were without Jimmy Butler, and obviously they're without Steph Curry right now. So I don't. The 3-1 series, obviously, any of these teams could come back, but I don't see the fire in the Cavs. I think they're too banged up. The Warriors obviously have the Steph Curry issue, and I just don't see the Celtics. We've already talked about it. They've led majority of this series. If you look at the minutes in which the Celtics have led in this series, there's a lot more minutes the Celtics have led than the Knicks. But in terms of actually pulling out a game, I don't feel confident in this Celtics team right now, and especially thinking that Jason Tatum's not going to be in the lineup. That it could be. We'll talk about it here though. We'll talk about it against the New York Knicks. Could play out the Ewing theory. The Ewing theory is your best player goes out of the lineup and your team actually plays better. I mean, last year we saw the New York Knicks. They lost Julius Randle, and then all of a sudden, they played pretty well at the end of the season. And you can't just chalk that up all to Randle, but at the same time, it's part of the Ewing theory. Your best player goes out, and more opportunities open up for other players, and sometimes they take just as good, if not a better, advantage of those opportunities. That could be the Celtics. And I know a lot of people don't have confidence in that because they don't have confidence in Jaylen Brown running the offense in the same way that Jason Tatum typically does. But I'm just going to say, Jason Tatum, even though the super efficient night, 42 points, only 4 assists, tells you Jason Tatum was running this offense primarily through himself and not through others. And Jaylen Brown probably going to be doing the same thing. That's the whole knock against Jaylen Brown. He is not as sound of a playmaker as Jason Tatum, and he just doesn't have as great of a feel for the offense and dissecting a defense as Jason Tatum does. But ultimately, it's not as if Jason Tatum has been bringing out those best qualities within himself this series. So you could say, yes, the Celtics could have a chance with Jaylen Brown manning the ball and manning the offense within this series, and maybe some of the other guys they play a little bit more team oriented, a little bit more collective, and they actually come out and compete in this series. That is a possibility.
Yeah,
I mean, the Ewing theory is 100% possible here, but it's also possible that Jason Tatum plays game 5. What's funny about all this is he could just play game 5. Like, I mean, that could just
had a
be
heartbreak. If we just felt our hearts just get shattered, and we were talking about the demise of this career, and he pulled out a wheelchair to like I'm trying to even think of like a movie scene where like the person just pretends to die at the end of this movie and everyone's all sad and upset and they just end up walking around the corner and being like, "Hey guys, I'm fine." Like that's what that would be like. It would be like a possum playing dead.
Straight up. I'll tell you what movie right now, okay? Shout out to my guy Eric on here. Shout out to my guy Eric because I watched the movie Life with my guy Eric here last Friday or Saturday, all right? And in the movie Life, you ever seen that movie? At the end, so it starts out, I don't want to spoil the whole movie for everybody, but I'm just going to do it. So if y'all ain't seen this movie, I'm sorry. But I'm going to spoil the whole damn thing right now. I'm sorry, folks. If y'all are moviegoers, just get on out of here. Join in like 2 minutes. I don't know. So at the beginning of the movie, they're burying two inmates, right? These younger inmates are burying these two older inmates. And there's this older inmate telling a story about them. And the whole movie is just based on the story about these two inmates who are being buried, right? And at the end of the movie, you realize, oh man, it's like, oh, they never got out. They just were buried they were in jail. They were buried in jail. Like they never made it out of jail. And then the end of the movie, it ends with, it's like, oh, one of the guys, I forgot their names. One of the guys, he was Claude and Claude and I'm forget Gibson and Claude and Gibson. I don't even remember. Ray Gibson and Claude. Yeah, Claude and Gibson. He was like, oh, at the end of the movie, he was saying, oh, well. Oh man, I forgot how this went. This is where you got it. When you recall things, you're like, oh, now I got to just don't remember exactly how it went. But essentially, at the end of the movie, they're burying these two guys, and then gets to the end, and they're like, well, obviously they didn't make it out. And he was like, no. Last time I saw him, he was going into the morgue to get a couple of dead bodies to make an escape to set the whole compound on fire so that they could fake their escapes. And so the guys who are burying them, they're like, so this isn't the two guys we were talking about? And he's like. And the guy just starts laughing, and then it just pans to New York, to Yankee Stadium, and the two old guys are just sitting there, and they made it back to Harlem. They made it back, well, not to Harlem, the Bronx, and they made it out. It's like, holy shit, they made it out. You think the whole movie they just died as prisoners, and they make it out. I mean, that was the worst recollection of that movie, I will say, and I just spoiled it for everybody. But that's what it could be for the Celtics here. That's what it could be. You essentially. You have this Tatum injury that could be an Achilles tear. We have no idea up to this point. What if it's just a calf strain? What if he plays game 5? What if the Celtics win game 5? All of a sudden, big game 6, and then you have game 7 back at home at the Garden. It's not out of the realm of possibilities here. I mean, it feels like we're talking crazy at this point in the program, but I've seen the movie Life. I've seen the movie Life. That's what I'm saying. I've seen it. I've seen the two dead guys. I mean, they're getting buried the whole movie, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, they're at Yankee Stadium. You know, they're back in Harlem. They're back at the Bronx.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, a New York reference here, but unfortunately,
if he just needed the Paul Pierce Poop Express to the locker room, I will be so pissed off. But
no, I'd be happy. Like if it's just a calf strain, it's like, ooh, rejoice. Because I want to bring up another thing here. First of all, I'll say this in the comments. Respect to Knicks fans who are giving their prayers and their praises to Jason Tatum tonight. You know, obviously, big moment for Knicks fans and big moment for the Knicks fan base. But just for Knicks fans to calm down, chill out for a minute and give their prayers and their praise to Jason Tatum. Some class acts there in the comments, I will say. But I'll also highlight another comment, which this says Ale retires. Ale. But I'm going to go ahead and say Al retires. This is another conversation that I want to hone in on. Does Al Horford, if Tatum is not around next season, does Al Horford retire? Because it's like, why is he coming back to potentially grab the 5 seed next year? I don't, it's like, oof, like he's still spry, but you got to think he's 38. He has multiple children, young children. I mean, still growing. He's still going to be a huge part of their upbringing in this world. I mean, it is a valid question. If Jason Tatum's out next season, could that affect something like Al Horford potentially retiring this offseason? It's a thing.
He's waiting until his son makes it to the league. He's already on the Celtics bench. So we got Al around for another 10 years, only if that toe heals up, that horrible toe that he's been dealing with. But that I'm going to continue to sit on my hands and bite my tongue about any offseason talks or anything like that. I'm not ready to wrap my head around going into GM mode. I'm not. We're on to game 5. We're going to make this a fun series. Jaylen Brown is going to prove why he was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and NBA Finals MVP. We have a very faithful viewer on this podcast here, and she has always been a very big Jaylen Brown advocate, saying that this is the time that Jaylen Brown can step up and lead this team. It's time for this to show out and show up. And I would love for the Celtics to bring this to a Game 7 against the New York Knicks. And from what we've seen, we would have to see a complete 180 turnaround by this team. They would need to completely flip the script and go right back into that killer whale offense that we are so accustomed to. We'd have to see some great performances out of Pritchard. We'd even have to see performances out of like Sam Hauser. We need to see.
I mean, that's something we haven't talked about. Is he hasn't played this whole series.
Yeah,
outside of game 1.
You need Sam Hauser to show up big. You would need rotational players to be able to fill in for 10 to 15 minutes and make those 10 to 15 minutes productive. Being able to get 3 3-pointers on the board within 15 minutes is the best chance the Celtics have in this championship run. And against the Knicks, I think they can match up on a game-to-game basis with Jason Tatum out of the lineup. Obviously, it's extremely more challenging than what we would have been facing if we were going into game 5 with Tatum as a fully healthy scratch going in, or fully healthy going into the next game. But yeah, I think that we haven't seen it from these guys, but we know it's there. And hopefully we can get that turnaround. If not, we're going to be looking at a serious reforming offseason that you'll never see the Boston Celtics ever look again. So let's just keep on pushing forward and enjoy the good days while they last. That's probably the best statement I've made tonight. Let's try to enjoy these good times while they last, because it can only get worse from here.
We saw that rock bottom graphic. We saw that rock bottom.
But we thought we were at rock bottom in January. Imagine if we told January us that we'd be down 3-1 to the New York Knicks in round 2, and Jason Tatum suffered a major injury.
Yeah, I know. Like, you look back at that moment in January and go, man, we just lost to the Raptors. Like, really, no big deal. Right? Just like, oh, we lost to the Raptors on January 13th? It's like, no big deal. It's like, how about 5 months later when you're losing to the Knicks at MSG to go down 3-1 in the series and Tatum potentially ruptures his Achilles? How about that for rock bottom? And again, it could get worse from here. And we don't know anything about Jason Tatum right now. Don't know anything.
We're heading back to Boston. Let's get that energy pumping. Let's get that final push in the Garden. I just checked the tickets. It's $200 to get into the Garden right now on SeatGeek. But if you use $20 code, the Celtics Weekly, that's a $180 ticket to sit in the nosebleeds in TD Garden. Let's get that place bumping. Let's get them loud. You know what? We're back to F the Knicks. I'm sorry. I'm not going down easy. I talked way too much shit going into this series to go down lightly. Just to let an injury like this.
That is standing on business right there, though.
Yeah, wanna know what? No, we're going out fighting. Wanna know what? Jaylen Brown's about to step up and prove why he's a number 1 player and why he's capable of leading his own team. This is the season, and this is the rest of the series where Jaylen Brown proves his worth, where Drew Holiday proves that they're still a role player and that this team can function as a cohesive unit to accomplish a goal of winning 3 games in a row. We're still here, and we're not going down without a fight, New York. You might have taken Tatum, but I'm not going to give up my faith. I need to be the little light in this corner. I got to be the Rocky Balboa. My face is bleeding. I got blood coming from the lip. We got to get back into this. This is when the Celtics are like the full wind was taken out of their sails, but I feel like that it could turn this into just motivation.
We'll see, because up to this point, it would have been nice to see that maybe tonight, or hey, we saw it a little bit in game
maybe
3,
in
but hey, game two, and tonight. I mean, we needed to see it in those spots. And moving forward, what we're banking on right now is the Ewing theory. It's just the Ewing theory, and it's gonna be against the New York Knicks, who are the first. I mean, I'm probably not the first team ever to see that concept, but the team in which the concept was named after, the Ewing theory. Your best star player goes out of the lineup, and somehow, some way, the team actually plays better after his exit. But Franco, you talked about off-season reform tonight. So many things played out in the NBA world that suggests major reform is on the way, not only for a team potentially like the Boston Celtics, but other teams out there. Maybe some other teams who, I don't know, Franco, won the draft lottery tonight. The top 4 order in the 2025 NBA draft lottery: Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, get him out of here. And then Charlotte, number 4. But here's the entirety of the draft lottery, folks. Tonight, the NBA draft lottery took place before the Celtics versus Knicks game. And we see the results right here. The Dallas Mavericks. Now, I'm sorry, Adam Silver, if you want to rig a draft lottery, well, why don't you just tell us, all right? Why don't you just tell us? Why don't you just FaceTime us? Why don't you just say something about it? Because this is the most blatant rigging of a draft lottery I think I've ever seen. And even as NBA analysts and observers, like, I can't shy away from that point from the standpoint of the Dallas Mavericks. They literally just lost half of their fan base because of the Luka Doncic trade. Like, okay, look at this. If you have your star player out there on any franchise, right, and that star player makes up just a grand majority. I know the Mavericks have Kyrie. They sell a lot of Kyrie jerseys, but let's face it, there are a lot of 77 jerseys in the crowd in Dallas. If you have a player like Luka on your roster and you trade him away, you know how many fans that affects? You know how many casual fans? It's not even the diehard fans. The diehard fans are going to show up. They're going to go, oh, we have AD. Oh, yeah, now. But the casual fans who only come out to look at Luka, to only observe a player like Jokic, to only observe a player like LeBron James or Jason Tatum or whoever the star player is out there. There are some fans within markets that only look at the star players. I mean, that's why ESPN, if you look at their pregame show, are they ever talking about the role players? Are they ever talking about the others? No, they're always talking about the star players because they understand, oh, the eyes, the view count is on the star players. Well, Dallas, they lose their top star player. You see a fan mutiny caused against the Dallas Mavericks near the end of the season. And then all of a sudden we sit here after the NBA draft lottery and we're looking at the results and, oh, who has the number 1 pick? Oh, it's the Dallas Mavericks. And the Dallas Mavericks are now awarded Cooper Flag, most likely. Nico Harrison could do the funniest thing here. I mean, Nico Harrison selecting Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey over Cooper Flag would be the most Nico Harrison thing that could happen on the face of the planet of the Earth.
I doubt that will be the case, but
you doubt it, but then you also doubt that, hey, maybe Luka Doncic could be traded for a 1 first-round pick, and it happened.
I just don't. I physically don't. I think like actual, not even Dallas Mavericks fans would be the ones coming after Nico Harrison. I think genuinely the entire NBA and anyone who's just a fan of basketball and knows
it would be Adam Silver. He'd be like, how did I give you this opportunity?
How did I give you a job? Like, I think literally the entire NBA would be on a witch hunt for Nico Harrison if he passed up that pick, because teams don't usually care when a team makes a bad decision, but when it gets to a point where you're making such egregious bad decisions that it is just a disgrace to the NBA. You need to lock your doors and hide your windows, hide the wives, and hide the kids, because I don't know how you're expecting your kid to attend high school without getting bullied after the terrible trade jobs you've done. But looking at the Dallas Mavericks starting lineup heading into next year, assumingly so, is Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, or Daniel Gafford / Derek Lively, as they're still
PJ Washington,
Yep,
Najee Marshall.
Yep, that's all coming off the bench for you. They immediately floated right back into the pack in the Wild Wild West, where almost 11 teams in there look like they can compete for an NBA championship once the playoffs roll around, and you can really make a case for anyone to make a run deep. So that is good for them. And then you look at the team below them, the San Antonio Spurs. I would assume that they're probably going to be walking away with Ace Bailey, knowing that they have 2 solid point guards and a shooting guard with Fox and Castle going into next year. And you'll be able to add Ace Bailey to that lineup. So you'll be looking at Keldon Johnson, and it really depends on who they want coming off the bench. They could go with Sohan to be the starter if they want a little bit more of a defensive effect to counteract the offense and the rebounding with Wemby. But they're looking like a solid team. The Philadelphia 76ers, their absolutely failed tank job this year. They weren't even supposed to be tanking this year, but they ended up being in such a bad position injury-wise and just play-wise altogether that they have worked their way into a 3rd overall pick. And looking at the prospects that are left on the board, this year's draft is very guard heavy. So it wouldn't shock me if the 76ers were looking for a trade out of this draft position and maybe packaged a deal, maybe upgraded using Paul George's contract ideally, or something of that sort, to bring in a new player to play next to Embiid. Or you can see them start to build for life without Embiid and end up taking the best center on the board, which I am blanking on his name right now. I will be going into more draft coverage later on the offseason, but he's I know he's from Kentucky, he's from Kentucky. So you could see them end up going that route. But then you look at the rest of the board, Hornets, Jazz, Wizards, they could have really, really used any 3 of the players that were just listed. So the pure unluckiness of this draft, you even have the Houston Rockets picking 10th in this year's draft, which is absolutely unbelievable when they made it to round 1. And you have the Spurs with 2 lottery picks going into this year. I really think that something needs to be done, and I almost am positive that there will be something done once the NBA begins to expand more and can shy away from this draft lottery, because it's really just been unfair to a lot of teams, and there's no reason why the NBA shouldn't be able to just go based off of current standings, and also whenever there's a tiebreaker, utilize the point differential to separate the teams. That's the way I would do it. Is any tiebreakers are solved by whatever team ended up having the worst point differential. But yeah, for these teams, a lot of the top 3 teams just got a big boost to their team going forward when they truly weren't deserving of it whatsoever.
I have a couple things to say on this, the results board here. First of all, I mean, the biggest one is obviously the Dallas Mavericks. If if I don't like to say things when they're not, for certain, but you can speculate on things. The draft lottery, eh, how about this NBA? How about we just do it like the NFL? How about you just take a page out of the NFL's playbook and do it by records? Because the lottery, I mean, come on, the lottery seems like a mechanism of control. It seems like a tool to control the
1000%.
results in which the way the NBA wants it, because the NBA, this is the best case scenario for the NBA. You have Luca on the Lakers. He's going to be the star there after LeBron inevitably retires in the next, at some point in the next half decade. When LeBron retires, Luca's going to be the star in LA. You have a star face with the Lakers franchise. That franchise isn't going to go irrelevant when LeBron leaves or retires or does whatever he plans on doing into the future. But also in Dallas. I mean, and at Dallas right now, they're not in a terrible position. I understand Kyrie Irving, he's going to be dealing with an ACL injury for half of next year, but you do have Kyrie still there, and we kind of ran through these names already, but Kyrie, AD on the roster, then you have Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, two great bigs there. We also have PJ Washington, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, and Jaden Hardy. Those are all good guards slash forwards right there, most of them forwards that can really fill it up on the offensive end of the floor, get you some stops defensively, and that's a pretty deep roster if you're looking at it. Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Jaden Hardy, Derek Lively, and you add on Cooper Flagg. You add Cooper Flagg into that mix. That's not too bad of a squad. And then also at the bottom, I mean, those are all the guys under contract next year. You also have Brandon Williams, who that's an interesting player coming in with the Mavericks next season. He had a quite a run near the end of the year with the Mavericks that maybe a lot of the NBA community didn't necessarily notice, but he was good enough to get himself inked to a standard deal with the Mavericks, and he'll be under contract with the Mavs next year. It's maybe he turns into something later on in time. Powell and Prosper, they're also under contract. I'm not too confident they'll be playing too big of a role next year on the Mavericks, but hey, Prosper, he's 22 years old, and Powell's kind of that Udonis Haslem type of vet, that bench presence, that leader off the bench, in which the Dallas Mavericks have. You also, if you're just looking at free agents, Dante Exum, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kai Jones, and Kessler Edwards. Maybe you look at bringing somebody like Dante Exum or Spencer Dinwiddie back, but just that roster, I mean, the Mavericks roster doesn't look all that bad. It looks like a roster that could compete for a West title next year. If you really look at the entire landscape of the West and how it's shaped up right now, and just the fact that Oklahoma City looks like a very beatable team at this moment in time, you look at this Mavericks roster and go, okay, there are going to be some guys in their primes. You're also going to have Cooper Flagg, but that looks like a roster that can compete. The only thing that confuses me is just adding on Cooper Flagg to that. But you have the timeline of Cooper Flagg, who's what, 18, 19, 20 years old, but then you also have the timelines of AD and Kyrie. I mean, it's almost, the Mavs and the Lakers, they're almost similar in that way where okay, there are going to be some stars here that are going to go expired or they're aging. But you also have the young guard. With the Lakers, you have Luca, the young guard. Now with the Mavericks, you have Cooper Flagg, the young guard. It's going to be interesting to see how the Mavericks mesh those timelines with each other and how they can transition from the Kyrie AD era into the Cooper Flagg era, and how that all goes about, and if they can really compete with those three on the roster, or if there's more of a transition over to Flagg in time. We'll have to see. But the Mavericks, I mean, the Luka trade was just swept under the rug. I mean, quite frankly, the Luka trade is just all. I mean, look, if the Mavericks win a couple extra games with Luka this year, they don't receive this pick. That's just point blank, plain and simple. If they make the playoffs, they're not even in the lottery this year, and they don't even have a chance at Cooper Flagg. But that's where I just look at this and go, man, the NBA, to say they don't have a hand in this definitively. I mean, come on, this is just the Mavs top 5 lowest odds ever in landing the number 1 pick. Top 5 lowest odds ever to land the number 1 pick. The Dallas Mavericks, I believe they're 3rd in the line of that, maybe 2nd. But the Dallas Mavericks land Cooper Flagg most likely if they pick Cooper Flagg first overall, which it looks like he's the consensus number 1 pick. It's going to be Cooper Flagg. But the Mavericks have this is dumb luck, Franco. As you said, it's dumb luck to see the Mavericks fall into this situation, because beforehand we're talking on here. I don't even know. I don't think me and you even talked about this on a broadcast. I think we talked about it after a show one day. We were talking about how the Mavs, they move up their timeline for no reason by trading for Anthony Davis. You have Anthony Davis and Kyrie, who are going to give you what, a 1-2 year contending
Yeah.
window, if that. And this was before the Kyrie ACL injury. We were talking about this, and we were going 1 to 2 year contending window, if that. If you're the Mavericks, versus if you have Luka, you're contending for maybe a decade if you can get the right pieces around him. If you're keeping him under contract, and just didn't really make any sense during the time of that trade. But now, I mean, the Mavericks have just been thrown. It's the same thing as the Lakers. The Lakers don't have any future whatsoever, but beyond a 7 seed roster with LeBron and AD, and then they're just thrown this great fortune. I mean, out of the sky, just great fortune falls out of the sky for the Lakers. It's like, oh, we got Luka Doncic, we have a future all of a sudden. And then the Mavericks, they look like the stupid idiots, but then, oh, great fortune falls out of the sky for the Dallas Mavericks, and all of a sudden they have Cooper Flag. And that's just the dumb luck that sometimes plays into the NBA and changes the NBA landscape. But just other examples in NBA history of this happening. I mean, you just some draft lottery results that don't look all that right. LeBron, the Cavaliers win the draft lottery in 2003 with LeBron. He's coming into the league, consensus #1 overall from Akron. He goes to his hometown in Cleveland, Ohio. Then you have the Cavaliers win the lottery the year after LeBron leaves, and they win it twice more in 2013 and 14 with LeBron out of the building after that market is dwindling. You have the Chicago Bulls in 2008 with Derrick Rose. Might have been 2008 or 2009 with Derrick Rose. They win the lottery there. Derrick Rose is coming home to Chicago in that instance. And so there are a lot of draft lotteries, obviously, in NBA history. You have the Patrick Ewing lottery. You have a couple of other ones that you could look at too, but just those are some of the ones that pop out in my mind where we just see teams win the lottery. And it's like, come on, how does this happen? How do the Mavericks jump up to #1 here? And how does that good fortune fall into the Mavericks' hands the way it did after such a horrendous trade made at the trade deadline between the Mavericks and the Lakers involving Luka Doncic? I mean, that is seriously one of the worst trades in NBA history. Now it's just going to be swept under the rug conveniently for both the league and the Dallas Mavericks and the Dallas market. Now that the Dallas Mavericks, they'll see Cooper Flag playing in a Mavericks uniform next season, which is just absolutely unbelievable. I have a couple other things to say here, though. The San Antonio Spurs at #2 is extremely interesting because you could either pick a player there at #2 could really help Wemby and really help that roster compete next season with Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. But I'll point this out. The Spurs, they're top 3 in the odds to land Giannis in a potential trade this offseason. And I'll tell you this, picks #2 and picks #14, along with some of the other assets the Spurs have on their roster, you could certainly see the Spurs mustering up a legitimate package to go out and get somebody like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and specifically Giannis, because #2, that's a pretty, you're not getting you might not get Cooper Flag right there, but that's a big pick. I mean, that don't sell that pick short.
Ace Bailey, he would be the consensus #1 if Cooper Flag didn't exist.
But look at this. I mean, look, Giannis, he's making upwards of $50 million next year. But look, you have under contract that you can trade this summer. Devin Vassell, $27 million. Harrison Barnes, $19 million. Keldon Johnson, $17.5 million. I mean, you're probably not going to want to move off of Castle if you're the Spurs, but he's $9.5 million. Sohan, he's $7 million. Malachi Branham, he's $4.9 million. Then you have Blake Wesley, 4.7. Champagny, $3 million. Bassey, 2.5. And then the other two guys I didn't mention under contract that you could trade this summer. Two guys you're likely, I mean, you're definitely not trading if you're the San Antonio Spurs. Wemby, $13.4 million. And then De'Aaron Fox, $37.1 million. I'm going to go ahead and say Wemby and Fox stay. But any of those other players, Vassell, Barnes, Johnson, Castle, Sohan, Branham, Wesley, Champagny, or Charles Bassey, I mean, any of those guys could be traded and put in a package for Giannis, along with the #2 pick, the #14 pick, maybe a couple of other future first-round picks. And then all of a sudden, the San Antonio Spurs, they could have a core of De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, which would just look I mean, that would just look monstrous out west. If that were to happen, that would just look absolutely ridiculous. But you do have the contracts, you do have the salaries if you're the Spurs, and now you also have the pick assets to go out and potentially get Giannis if, of course, the San Antonio Spurs elect to take that route with his number 2 pick. You certainly have the assets after tonight, after this lottery. But another aspect, this is the third talking point I just want to get to here with the draft lottery is look at picks 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. How about 9 too? Just 4 through 9. This is, I'm sorry, the Hornets, the Jazz, the Wizards specifically, the Hornets, Jazz, and Wizards specifically, but just 4 through 9, the Nets, Raptors, and Pelicans included. Those teams, total poster children right now for teams to not tank in the future because these teams really tanked their lives away this season. I mean, the Hornets, the Jazz, the Wizards specifically, those 3 teams, they were just openly, overtly, blatantly tanking this season. And obviously, we know, okay, the Pelicans, a lot of injury issues there. The Nets actually sold away their roster so that they could tank. The Raptors openly came into the season tanking. All those tanking teams ended up with awful picks. Okay, the Hornets, Jazz, and Wizards, all of their fan bases, and I'll tell you, the Wizards fan base right now, oh, just awful. I mean, after a horrendous season like we saw, I mean, the Jazz lost a franchise record amount of games this season, and they end up with the 5th pick. The Wizards, they think they're maybe getting Cooper Flag tonight. They get the 6th pick. I mean, this is a message to the tanking teams of the future going, look, we understand you want to give you want to give yourself a chance at the top overall pick, but to just blatantly tank and think you're actually going to get a good asset, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen because the Hornets, the Jazz, the Wizards, I'm sure they thought most of this season they were going to end up with the top 3 pick or maybe even end up with Cooper Flag instead. I mean, especially if you're the Wizards right now or even the Raptors or the Nets. I mean, come on, those picks 6, 8, 9. I mean, that is rough, especially the Jazz, they won 16 games this season. The 16 games the Jazz won this year. And they come up with pick number 5. I mean, that is just demoralizing. It's debilitating. And I think it's a message for the future and teams of the future that says, look, if you're going to tank, you're not guaranteed a good asset. I mean, it's the flattened odds era. This is the era in which the top 3 overall picks all have the same odds, and it affects the odds for the rest of the lottery. And it just shows these flattened odds does not guarantee, you tank and you get a good asset. I mean, these tanking teams really took a hit tonight, and it's that 4 through 9 right there, 4 through 9, the Jazz all the way down to the Raptors. Those were all the tanking teams this year, and they all ended up with terrible, awful, no good picks. And of course, and that's where you think the top 3, and this is just maybe a rigged affair. You have the Mavericks, who the Luka trade is swiped under the rug. The Spurs, everybody. I mean, the Spurs, if you look at Wemby on that roster, they're trying to get the Spurs up and going as a franchise and a watchable team right now in terms of their ability to actually compete. People will watch Wemby, but what will take that to another level is the Spurs actually being competitive. I think that number 2 pick does that here. And then the Sixers too. You have Embiid and Paul George, McCain and Maxey. You do have some good pieces there. Philadelphia, big market. Yeah, let's give them the 3rd overall pick. I mean, those top 3 markets right there of NBA teams, the NBA wants to see succeed. They're in positions to succeed. The Mavericks have star talent, the Spurs have star talent, and the Sixers. They all have star talent. They're all in positions to succeed further on in time. And it feels like the NBA right here. I'm not openly saying Adam Silver and him and his board of advisors affected this these exact results here. However, if you just look at it, it's like, yeah, those top 3 markets were rewarded for having star talent and being closer to the precipice of needing, I would say, needing assistance or a boost in terms of like, okay, where they're at now versus where they could go. All 3 of these teams could ultimately see better futures because of these top 3 picks. But then teams 4 through 9, that's just, I mean, yep, it's like, hey, you didn't compete. You don't have star talent. You're not doing things the right way. You're openly trying to lose in order to get back to the top. Yep, sit down. 4 through 9. 4 through 9. You're not getting a top 3 pick. Sit down and enjoy whatever you get. I'm sure that we'll see some star players pick 4 through 9, but at the same time, it's like not as big of a guarantee 4 through 9 as it is 1 through 3, and then 10 through 14. I mean, it's just all the I mean, I shouldn't say bottom feeder, but you have the I was gonna say bottom feeder play-in teams right there. I mean, the Rockets have the Suns pick, the Blazers pick is in there. The Hawks have the Kings pick, and oddly enough, the Spurs have the Hawks pick at pick number 14 there, and then the Bulls at 12. I mean, not too much to say about those teams. Those are just some of the mediocre squads of the NBA. But yeah, I mean, the lottery, takes a lot to say it's not rigged because my goodness, it's certainly interesting. And I have this tweet to show right here too. Sean Grandy, Dallas goes to the finals, trades Luca, then gets the number 1 overall pick. 2 East teams with 60 plus wins to win 60 games, at least 60 games, both now down 3-1. While there's now a probability that the Knicks, Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and Isaiah Hartenstein all end up in the conference finals. So that's
could
just
be the
wild in
NBA.
itself.
That could be the NBA finals.
Well, we have 3. I mean, we have the Knicks, the Timberwolves, and the Thunder. I mean, that's
Yeah.
That
could be an NBA finals matchup. And then WWE earlier on this year, were the ones who threw together a little skit between Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson. So everyone's talking about the script was always there in front of our faces, and we just didn't notice it. And yeah, who knows? But this is definitely a weirder looking and most non-predictable NBA playoffs we have seen in a very, very long time, because this is really just the showing of the change in the guard. You saw a lot of matchups
so
that
many
you're not
fortunes
accustomed
changed
to.
in the NBA tonight. That's what Brian Windhorst said after the game. He was completely correct.
Yeah, teams have completely
We'll get
the
some
whole
running with
narrative.
this graphic. How about that?
Yep.
Some basic stuff here, folks, but we'll get some
But
running
yeah,
here.
the narrative of the NBA this season has really been flipped on its head, and it's great for basketball at the same time that the star matchups are not there now, but it's now you have to be able to watch these teams and be able to see who the new guy is in town. And you're looking around, the New York Knicks are probably in their best state and ability. Obviously, looking at an Indiana Pacers series, I think that'll be an entertaining series. If they end up facing up with them, who knows? Maybe the Boston Celtics could squeeze through. But even if the Celtics pull off the miracle of beating the New York Knicks in a 7-game series this round and are able to advance to the Indiana Pacers series, I wouldn't really have nearly any I would be riding off the confidence of the fact that the Celtics were able to win 3 games in a row. But that would be the only thing that I would have the Celtics being able to match up well against the Indiana Pacers in a 7-game series without Jason Tatum.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't see. It's it's one of those just. Oh Lord, it's one of those conversations that just.
No
It's
matter
just
how far
if the Celtics come back and win this series, it's it does change the complexity around. Okay, yeah, the Celtics obviously if they come back and win this series, they can win any series, but it's the Pacers. That's the thing about this the Knicks Pacers being up 3-1, both of them. It's the Pacers look really good right now. It's the Pacers.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're struggling against the Knicks. I would be very interested to see how we would actually play against the Pacers, but yeah, I mean, it's.
We'll keep the faith
it is
here.
what it is.
We'll keep the faith here. We're gonna be here on Wednesday. We're showing up, so the Celtics better show up too.
Exactly, and here's that tweet again. Just how wild the NBA is, and bringing us back here to that. How about that transition, folks? Just had to give the other graphics some run, even though we didn't talk about we talked a lot about the lottery. We didn't talk about the here we go. We didn't talk about the Cooper flag under the graphic. But well, Franco, this is our longest post game of the season now, officially, I believe. I'm looking at Jalen Brunson gets in the ring to defend the Garden against Tyrese Halliburton. That was almost a year ago, and now we're gonna be doing it again. Gonna be doing it again, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? All I know is the Celtics, obviously, tonight they drop just. I mean, we talked about it for 3 hours. 113 to 121, game 4. This was such a massive moment. Like this game tonight, I just cannot. Like I'm having chills right now because it's a change in the guard. It just is in the East. I mean, the Celtics, they are now. So the Celtics, they were the favorites to win the East for the entirety of the last 2 seasons, the last 2 regular seasons. They were favored to win the East last year. They actually did it. Celtics were favored to win the East the entirety of this year. They fell off the Celtics were at the top of the odds to win the finals until OKC knocked them off late in the year, but the Celtics still held that favorite position to win the East. Tonight, right now, at this moment in time, the Celtics are not favorites to win the East for the first time in nearly 2 seasons. Nearly 2 seasons. That is, I mean, it's a changing of the guard. The Celtics, we have no idea what they're going to look like next year. We have no idea what the status of Jason Tatum is going to be. We're hoping for a calf strain. A lot of people are looking at the injury saying Achilles. I think that was everybody's reaction when we saw it, but we have no idea what it's going to be. We have no idea what the state of the Celtics is going to look like next year. And we have no idea how the Celtics are going to come out in game 5 after this just horrendous showing tonight. This was a must-win game. Horrendous showing down the stretch. Defensively, couldn't get a stop. Offensively, it was shot chucking. And then it's all topped off by Jason Tatum potentially coming down with a major injury where he leaves the floor with no weight put on his leg and in a wheelchair and crying. And just one of the this is going to be a night that people remember in NBA history. It's going to be a night that is remembered for great joy from fan bases like the Knicks and the Mavericks, but just great sorrow for other fan bases like the Celtics fan base, of course, because it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how fast things can change. And it's just unbelievable how just a week and a half ago we're here previewing our rival showdown, and the Celtics are going to win in 5 and 6, and now all of a sudden it's like, man, I don't know. I was looking forward to maybe putting up another banner over here on the wall.
Keep that space empty. Keep that space empty. You always.
I was looking to put up another banner over here, but then it's like, oof, I don't know. A week ago that seemed plausible. A week later, it seems like it's just are we gonna have to wait till 2020? I mean, 2026 is obviously the next chance, the next occasion, but we don't know what the status of Jason Tatum is, and is it going to be even longer than that? Is it going to be after the Tatum and Brown era? Like, it's very hard to calculate. It's very hard to calculate.
The hiatus could go from when we could be seeing a hiatus that was like the Paul Pierce era to the Jason Tatum era. We could see something of that level again. We could end up going another 15 to 20 years without a title because you don't realize we might be spoiled in that sense, but winning the NBA championship is such a rare commodity outside of Boston, and New York winning this series and seeing the excitement that is stirring in New York is great, and this is them winning the NBA championship just for making it past round 2. Over in New York, we outside. Bing bong with the Butters.
I'm sorry, but we're about to be the biggest Pacers fans in the entire world. Like, no matter how much respect we're giving the Knicks this series, like we are. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, where's my? You know what? F it. You know what? No. You know what? Hold up.
You don't just wait until we lose this series and I'm wearing the cat mask in shame.
You know what?
When we lose this series, I'm doing that entire next post-game show in the cat mask. And it's just...
All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, folks. This is the shirt we'll be wearing next series. This was the shirt. Hey, these were the shirts they were handing out when the Celtics made the finals last year. In 49 states, it's just basketball, but this is Indiana. Come on, Pacers. Come on. Come on. It's still after Knicks, Franco. Come on. Come on. To be fair, we haven't lost the series, so
we're still fighting.
Could be the Cavs. Could be the Cavs. Who knows?
Yeah.
It could be
it could still be a Cavs Celtics finals. Who knows? Or Eastern Conference Finals. Who knows? Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Finals MVP. Prove your worth. The multi-million-dollar, the $500 million man. This is time to put up or shut up, as we've been saying. But I think, just looking at those series, my respect for I just think New York is just they're not experienced with winning. They're not a championship city. Never will be.
Jets and the Giants.
They're not used to this. This is them having a field day. This is them having their fun. If they ever want to take a trip to the real Garden, they can come to Boston and they can check out what 18 banners look like. But until then, they can enjoy this one. I know they like to hang up their Eastern Conference Finals championship. So even if they do make the NBA Finals, there's still a chance that the Oklahoma City Thunder really just produce their opportunity and become a good player or become the star players that people assume they will. And if they are able to win an NBA championship this year, that is very early in the process of what the NBA.
Knicks?
No, the Thunder. If the Thunder are able to win a championship this year, they are so far ahead of what a dynasty's timeline is supposed to look like. It makes me pretty intimidated for what they're going to look like because they're still bound to make their super team type of push when they make a trade for a player that is just the final piece to their roster. And just likewise with the Spurs, the Rockets, all these teams are going to be stepping up, and there's a huge chance the Celtics will be stepping back this offseason.
That's just the unfortunate part here is man, the Celtics.
At least the East isn't really
Celtics, but this was such a moment. The last 2 years was such a moment because even this year it felt like we had the chance to go back to back and it could have happened and this could be a championship season and it just feels like it's going down the drain now. Even I want to see Jason Tatum healthy now. That's the one silver lining. Literally as far as this series goes and as far as this season goes, it's throw away the season. It's we're in the process of throwing away the season already. If Tatum is healthy, it's whew, rejoice. Okay, it sucks that we're probably going to lose this series and not going to win the title this year. But if Jason Tatum is healthy next year, we might have a chance next year. We might actually have a chance next year. If Tatum is not healthy, if he's out long term, we don't have a chance next year. We don't. And even the year after that, you're talking about Tatum coming back into the lineup and not necessarily. We're not expecting Tatum if he misses a whole season and then comes back. It's is the expectation that he's just going to come back the exact same and the Celtics are going to compete the exact same? It's we don't really know. That's just what's so devastating about tonight is just so many. The future has changed for this Celtics team, especially if Tatum is hurt long term. The future of this team has changed in one game. It went from if you win this game and Tatum's healthy, you're very much on track to potentially win back-to-back titles yet again if you're the Celtics. Now, again, we could talk about, okay, well, Indiana coming on to the other side of the bracket, you're still going to have a tough opponent out west. And what's your confidence level? What are our confidence levels right now in the Celtics? coming out of this Knicks series if they have to go to set 6 or 7 with the Knicks and after
I'd be
games
saying
1
if
and
they
2.
were
But
able to beat the Knicks in this series, they would be able to beat anybody. That's what I would be saying if we were in the position to move on to the Indiana Pacers. If the Celtics could beat the New York Knicks, and if they can beat the New York Knicks, I'm keeping that optimism in this. I'm keeping that around. If the
I know it's
Celtics
like we
can
can't
and
talk like
could,
this series is over, but I just like from
Yeah.
my perspective, it's like this series tonight was lost. Like tonight was like the final push. It's like we win this, we can win the series, we can go and win the title. It's like we lost tonight, and Jason Tatum goes down. It's like
yeah.
this.
If
This
Tatum
is
doesn't
just
go
the
down, I
equation
still
is there for a disaster. It's just
Yeah.
total disaster. And then you have illnesses just taking over Porzingis's body the last 2 months. We have no idea what's going on there. And then Hauser's hurt, which I know Hauser's not a big piece, but he kind of is when you have an 8-man deep rotation. And it's like, yeah, there's just if you really look at it, these playoffs, I don't I'm sorry. I hated this point during the Magic series, and people gave it out like it was I'm sorry. This was just the most green teamer take the entire Magic series. It was the physicality and the roughness of the Magic series, the toughness. It's gonna be good for the Celtics moving forward. And I'm like, I
No.
don't know if like we're just
No.
getting beat up. Like we're just getting beat up and we're not playing well. We're not putting them away early. We're not playing well. We're not putting up enough points on the board. We're getting beat up. And then in this Knicks series, it's like, yeah, what happens? We're not the more physical team. We're not the tougher team. It's the Knicks. The Knicks are the tougher team. They're the more physical team. The Celtics are not. If you look at the peaks, right? Who's peaking at the right time? The Knicks are peaking at the right time. The Celtics, they peaked about a month and a half ago. It's like in March when they went 14-1. I'm sorry to say it, folks, but when the Celtics went 14-1 in March, that was their peak. After that, the Celtics have been going downhill ever since then. And we even came on here and talked during the last week of the season going, I don't know, was that sample size enough to tell us that the Celtics team is for real about going back to back? And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, turns out that sample size actually wasn't enough because the Celtics reverted back into the sample size we saw at the beginning of the season where, okay, they went 19-4 to start the year, but then they went 14-11 the next 25 games. That's the sample size that came out in the playoffs, unfortunately, and started to arise more. And we could even see it within that last week of the season. Unfortunately, it carried over into the Magic series. Didn't put away the Magic like we thought we were going to outside of the last game when we had help from Jamal Mosley and Paolo Banchero with foul trouble that happened in that game. And then, of course, in this Knicks series, you just lay a total egg if you're the Celtics, and then you just have injury after injury pop up. Now, even Drew Holiday, he's been swiped under the rug in terms of the conversation around him. Drew Holiday was dealing with a hamstring injury coming into this series, and people are like, well, should you even play him against the Knicks because he's not even that big of a factor against the Knicks and blah. It's like all these players, Holiday, Porzingis, now Tatum, you had Brown dealing with the knee, you have Horford. He's being relied on to play a massive role at age 38. And the Hauser injury as well. There are just multiple things right now going against the Celtics at the end of the season that just tell me, all right, this just isn't the time. Last year everything fell the Celtics' way. This year it just feels like there are multiple factors falling. Like you see the reflection points, they're falling in favor of the Celtics' opponent or opponents rather than the actual Celtics out there. It's just it's unfortunate. I'm looking at some comments here. It just gonna throw some up at the end because we're gonna close off the show soon because this is our longest post game of the entire season, but I think the occasion warranted the long post game for sure because we just had a lot to talk about after this game, a lot of reaction and just unbelievable fall by the Celtics in this series. This was I can't. The one comparable moment to this is maybe
he's from St. Louis, by the way. Thought you were just a pool host guy.
I'm not even reading the comments. I'm just throwing them up on screen and then reading them. I'm like, wait a minute, wait, maybe I should read these before I actually throw them up sometimes. Not that any of these are particularly bad, but Yeah, St. I mean, I got the St. Louis hat on here because I'm from St. Louis as well. We got Tatum from St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis, but it's just a coincidence that me and Tatum, like, we're wrapped up in the Celtics. Like, I was covering the Celtics before Tatum was on the roster, and then all of a sudden, you have Jason. I mean, it was a surreal moment when Jason Tatum was drafted because it's like, whoa, wait, guy from my own city is going to be the star of the Celtics here, but it is. I mean, right now we're on the precipice of we'll have to see what the news is surrounding Jason Tatum because I mean just ridiculous stuff tonight. I mean, I cannot believe I cannot believe. Here we go. This is the one. This is the one that I wanted to show here. So much respect for the hat. Yeah, especially knowing the Cardinals are also just let's face it, the Cardinals. I'm pretty sure that I think
I
we had a
think they're
good
doing
result
decent.
today. I'm pretty sure the Cardinals won today. I don't know. But they're bad too. But I don't know. I'm going into sports purgatory right now. I mean, who's gonna save me? I mean, the Patriots with Drake May, is that
Yeah.
the Blues next
Yes,
year? The
sir.
Blues, I mean, the Blues just lost last second. The Cardinals are 500, and the Celtics, who knows where they're going? I mean, I have some, the hand right now. The hand you're looking at, like, okay, look, solid hand. I'm not gonna put my chips all in on the table on all up in the middle of the table on the hand I have right now. But it's get a couple more cards in there. Maybe it falls a little bit different. Trending right now on Twitter is Achilles. Unfortunately,
that sucks.
Can't celebrate the Celtics downfall because Tatum's
That's exactly
Achilles
what's
just
going on.
disintegrated. Tatum really just tore his Achilles after dropping 40 piece in the NBA playoffs.
That kind of like protected us from like the real bad New York fans that were usually coming into these shows to rip our heads off. I think the Tatum injury kind of softened the blow of that, but obviously not the right thing to soften the blow of.
Somebody tweets here. Tatum's played 1,500 more minutes than anyone else in the league. I don't know if that's an exact stat or this is just exaggeration. 1,500 more minutes than anyone else in the league since being drafted, and has missed consecutive games for an injury only once in his career. If that's a torn Achilles at age 27, that's beyond a devastating blow for a guy that's been the definition of Iron Man. So yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier. If he's out, I mean, come on now. That is just I'm like still like 3 hours later, I am just like, holy shit. Like, how did this? And you can see a pop. Somebody replayed the video. You can see a pop up the right calf, unfortunately. That is just rough. That is just rough.
Well,
wow.
We still got games ahead. We got
still got a game 5 back at the Garden ahead. But yeah, closing off this program here, Franco. Just the classic question we ask after every game: what do the Celtics need to do in Game 5 in order to just get themselves another win and get themselves back in this series for as much as they can right now?
Have fun. That's it. That's where I'm at. I think that's the best thing that the Celtics can do. It obviously it's going to be hard to find all that in there, but it's going to be just trying to get them to get the ball flowing, getting Peyton Pritchard acclimated into this game. You're going to need a random player who hasn't been known to be a key producer for your team to step up. You need a Sam Hauser 15-point game. You need someone off the bench to help give you this type of momentum. Jaylen Brown, obviously, is the number one guy that needs to carry over the momentum and be the energy shifter that he's been trademarked as here in Boston. Seeing him be able to carry the load of this team and also lead this team into a battle where the odds are completely stacked against them and their backs against the corner and all they can do is swing. They are going to need to try to get through all that, and I'm not even worried about comments like that. I'm still on to the series, and I still think the Celtics are going to be able to get through. And I don't think, but I still have hope that the Celtics will be able to break through and Jaylen Brown can prove his superstar value, and you can also see the contributions that we should have seen from Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis in the upcoming games. But keep that faith, and then I'm keeping the GM talk until it gone. But
yeah, we might have a lot of time for that moving forward. Like
1,000%. That's why I'm avoiding it. So
yeah, we're saving our whole Joe Mazzulla should he be canned segment for later.
Yeah,
maybe when we're eliminated or just who knows.
Nope, they're winning the championship still. That's what we're here for. We're through trials and tribulations. We're going to be here to bring you the best Celtics coverage out there on the market.
100%. And just going into Game 5, I mean, the Celtics, they just have to rally around how they've been playing all year long, is unselfish team basketball, getting guys open shots, getting guys open threes, and just playing hard-nosed, tough physical defense. I think it's been just back and forth this season when it comes to the Celtics. Tough, hard-nosed physical defense, but we know their capabilities when it comes out, and I think that's what we need to see in Game 5. I mean, that's just point blank simple. You got to play your game. The Celtics have actually led for the majority of this series, and it's just baffling that it's a 3-1 lead right now for the Knicks, because just how well the Celtics actually have played at times in this series, and just how many leads they've just squandered away, and just how much better of a team they should be than the New York Knicks. But ultimately, give the Knicks respect, give them their credit. They played super hard this series. They've executed tremendously, and some guys who we typically think are not going to make that big of an impact in the series are making tremendous impacts. Guys like OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, all those guys. And then obviously Brunson and Towns, they've been fantastic, as well as Miles McBride. Miles McBride came off the bench, hit a couple of tough threes tonight, and it's just been their whole cast of characters, the 7-8 guys who Tom Thibodeau runs out there. You know, the two guys I didn't even mention was Precious Achua and Cameron Payne. those are the two guys I didn't mention. But all the other guys, I mean, just the entire roster of the Knicks, very respectable for what they've been able to do this series. And Paul Mack talked about it earlier when he was on the program. They're just playing team basketball. They're playing fun basketball. They're playing basketball through a lens of whatever the Celtics are giving them. They understand their assignment. They understand the gritty nature in which they have to add in order to go out there and win a game, and just all the little margins in which they have to win. And unfortunately, the Celtics, they've been riding a long ways on reputation this season and not really putting away all the little margins. And that's what we saw yet again tonight, is the Celtics, they were out rebounded. The second chance points, the points in the paint, just absolutely destroyed. And even didn't talk about turnovers tonight, but it did feel like the Celtics, the Celtics on the night in terms of turnovers, 7 turnovers for the Celtics. So they actually kept that number.
Yeah.
That was 7 turnovers in the first half. My bad.
Oh.
My bad. 12 turnovers on the night. So 5 in the second half. But hey, 12 turnovers on the night for the Celtics, 12 for the Knicks. But just so many areas. Shot, field goal attempt discrepancy tonight. The Knicks shoot 54% from the field, and they take 13 more shots than the Celtics tonight, 92-79 in terms of the shot attempts. The Knicks make 50 shots. The Celtics make 38 shots. And it's just all the little margins the Celtics lost tonight, and just the shot chucking, unfortunately, from the team. I know Tatum had 42 points, but if you just look at his stat sheet, you're not going to understand the entirety of Tatum's impact in this game. And when I say impact, I don't mean that in a positive way. I mean that in a unfortunately negative way on the offensive end of the floor, when Tatum was just very insistent on finding his own shot, and most of the time that shot was a step back three, it was a sidestep three, it was a jack up three off of no action, off of no passes early in the shot clock on possessions. And I understand 42 night, torn Achilles, people are going to go to war for him, but just was not the greatest decision making type of performance out of Tatum, Brown, Mazzulla, or anybody on the Celtics tonight. And unfortunately, they come up with one of the most horrendous Celtics games in, well, I hate to say quite some time, but hey, let's face it, it was just a couple of days ago after game 2. I mean, it Game 2, that was just as horrendous as this one tonight. But then it's topped off by, of course, the Jason Tatum injury near the end. Whether it's a catastrophic injury or not, we do not know yet. However, speculation is he could be missing quite a bit of time, which is just unfortunate, both for himself, Jason Tatum, and the entire Boston Celtics franchise, fan base, and organization. It's just rough night. These are one of those rough nights in the NBA, or for the Celtics fan base, and we've been here before. I'll say it, I never thought it could get worse than Gordon Hayward turning his ankle and gruesomely breaking his leg in the first 6 minutes of a season after. It's the first 6 minutes of Gordon Hayward's Celtics career. We signed him in the 2017 offseason, and all of a sudden he breaks his leg the first 6 minutes of the season on opening night. I didn't think it could get any worse after that. However, when you have your top tier superstar and Jason Tatum going out with a potentially torn Achilles in the NBA playoffs so late in the season, I mean, I'm telling you, if this is a torn Achilles, he's probably not playing next year because of how late this is in the season. But you see that, and then, of course, the 3-1 deficit to the Knicks, a team who is 100% inferior to what the Celtics have on their roster, but is just playing tremendously better than the Celtics right now. And then, of course, you just have the New York-Boston aspect of this. I mean, if this was Cleveland, Boston, if this was, Boston, Indiana, it might be a little bit different, but this is Boston, New York, and it's just more salt added onto the wound of the Celtics right now, and just which has unfortunately gotten bigger in the last couple of days. Just very, very, very bigger than it used to be after game 2, especially with the Jason Tatum injury. But that's just the way things go. I will say, if you put your chips in on sports teams, right? You follow sports teams, you're bound to have the peaks and valleys, the ebbs and flows of life. You're bound to have those just awesome moments where you're winning a title, holding up a trophy, doused in water and champagne, whatever. And then you have the other moments where you see a catastrophic injury and your title hopes just swirl down the drain. You just have those moments, and it's just the name of the game. At the end of the night, it's just the name of the game, and that's just what it is. That's just, I feel like I should be coming up with a better saying at the end of the night here. I don't know, Franco. You have a good saying for this? I mean, that's just the way things go. That's just the way things go.
The show goes on.
The show goes on. That is definitely
that's how it is. And next man up, who's gonna step up, and if the Celtics are really about it, they gotta show it on Wednesday. This is a huge test for them going into Game 5. And what was the I got my final saying. If you want to make history, you gotta do historic shit.
That's a good saying to end it on.
I said that a couple of games back, or when we were down 2-0. If you want to make history, you gotta do historic shit.
That's a good saying to end it on. Certainly the Celtics with a historic opportunity in front of themselves after a night that may have changed and altered history for both the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks. But as Franco, you also said, the show will go on, and that show not only being the show of the Boston Celtics, but here on the Celtics Talk Weekly postgame show, our show will go on as well, whether it's Game 5 or into the offseason. We will have you guys covered here, covering the Boston Celtics through whatever endeavor the franchise faces in the future. First overall pick, third overall pick, winning the championship, seeing Gordon Hayward and his ankle, and now Jason Tatum and his Achilles. And no matter what happens, the peaks, the ebbs, the flows, the valleys, we're all here for it. We're here at Celtics Talk Weekly. We've been here for the good, the championship moments, and now obviously after tonight, and just before tonight too, we've been here for the bad, the low moments. And this certainly feels like one, but that is not going to stop us from getting back on our horse and riding with more shows in the future. And that next show should be Game 5, unless we have another interview or something in between Game 5. But Game 5 on the horizon. We will have you guys covered here on the Celtics Talk Weekly postgame show for Game 5 coming up at the Garden on Wednesday night. The Celtics will be fighting for their season on Wednesday at the Garden, down 3-1 to the New York Knicks. Tonight, the Boston Celtics lose 113-121 at Madison Square Garden. And, of course, Jason Tatum goes down with an injury near the end. We'll wait for the results on that. But that is going to do it here for us tonight. Of course, I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me, Nick Franco. And as I always say, thank you all for watching, and go. Franco, anything else?
Yeah, go Celtics. At this point, we'll take it. Yeah.
Come on, Franco. Go Celtics. Let's go. Let's believe in this team.
Game
Come
5. Let's go. Come on.
Come on. Keep that bus going up the hill.
It's
Watch
3
this
o'clock
bus.
in the morning. Who gives a shit? We're going. We're winning the championship still. Jaylen Brown, let's go.
Come on, folks. Gotta believe. Come on. We gotta end this strong.
Believe.
Go Celtics. And let's turn that bus around. Y'all will see what I'm talking about.